This episode contains discussions around sensitive topics such as postpartum depression, suicide, self-harm, and mental health crisis. Please take care whilst listening. If you're in need of support, we encourage you to reach out to a trusted professional, a mental health service, or someone you feel safe with.
Welcome to Entry Level Moms. I'm Nosra.
I'm Suia.
And today we have two important guests. Woo!
We scheduled this studio session like 3 weeks ago.
I think it was like 3 weeks ago or a month ago.
I have been counting down the days. First of all, we have a doctor in the building. Not a medical doctor, but she has the doctor title. We're very excited. And we also have another very special guest. So I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Attey. I am a conscious parenting coach, but I'm also a therapist.
Amazing.
And I am Stella. Very nice to be here today, thank you. So my name's Dr. Stella Papadakis and I'm a clinical psychologist.
Look at us. We have wanted a doctor on here. Like, it's perfect that you're a clinical psychologist, and I'm not going to give away too much, but you work with kids, right? And that is like the most interesting thing, genuinely, that we have ever heard. And we were so excited to have both of you on because you could tell us about all the therapy angles of it and everything, and you could tell us about how much you've learnt from observing children and their stories. Okay, let's get into this.
Yes. So we'll start with Attey.
Yeah, sure.
Let's hear about your story. How did you get into this field? What inspired you?
Okay.
If you have kids, how many do you have?
Okay, sure. So I am a conscious parenting coach, but I'm also a therapist. So when I wear the hat of a conscious parenting coach, I'm able to advise, I'm able to help, I'm able to support in terms of, kind of like giving the mum tips and tricks and how to navigate parenting. But when I have my therapist hat on, I'm working towards my BACP, I don't advise. I'm there to support, hold a safe, non-judgmental space for the mum to open up and to really kind of dig deep into her internal wounds and kind of focus on her inner world of how she's then navigating parenting. So how did I get into this? This is actually a really deep kind of story, but it's kind of like a lifelong journey for me. I grew up witnessing many mental health issues from many different angles. So I had a very raw and deep understanding of mental health from a young age. And then I went into adulthood and I have 6 children. And my oldest is 20. So I've been a parent at the same school for a very long time. So I was kind of like the go-to mum for support amongst the mum community. And because I am half English, I'm half Egyptian, I could sit and chill with all the English mums and kind of get their support that they need and able to kind of just understand the pains and the trauma that they were having. But then I was also very available to the Muslim community who needed support just as much as, the English mums. So I think quite easily I fell into that role of just being that mum where a lot of mums could come to and kind of get support. But then unfortunately we both witnessed a heartbreaking tragedy in our community where a mother who we would see every single morning, who we never thought in a million years was going through the amount of pain that she was going through, and she unfortunately obviously saw no other way out and she wasn't given any support. She ended up taking the life of her daughter. And I think for me that was a huge wake-up call that so many mums, regardless of your culture, regardless of the colour of your skin, regardless of your religion, are struggling behind closed doors. And for me it was like, where was the support for her? Where was the help? Where was the, how could it have got to that level of depression where she feels that there's no other option than to take the life of her daughter, then try to take the life of the baby that she had in her hands, and then also turn it on herself and try to take the life of herself. So I was like so really triggered by this, and I thought, as a mum that we both used to see, and her daughter was very close with both of our daughters, as a mum that we would see every morning and do the school run morning as you do to every other to every other mother, it was like, how did this go unnoticed, that a mother got to that point where no support was given? So for me, that was definitely a kind of like big moment in my life where I was like, okay, I see that it's a universal struggle with mothers. They need support, they need help. But then unfortunately I saw it go in the complete opposite direction, where it was one extreme from there was absolutely no support to now social services are being called on every single mum you can think of for the most ridiculous things. And as a kind of protection for the community and for the school, it was like, okay, we need to now go to the complete extreme of now providing, if we have a slight thought of that this child is being neglected or this child is, you know, not being managed in the correct way, then we're going to call social services. And social services were being called left, right and centre for a huge amount of mothers in our community. And again, they were coming to me and saying, like, what do I do? Like, I don't need you to come and take my child away. I just need a bit of support. I'm just struggling a little bit. So there was this two extremes. And that was like a big moment for me. And I realised that I needed to do something about it, and I need to be that mum. And obviously I turned to Dr. Stella and was like, we got to do something, girl.
You guys are amazing.
And that's how we've kind of pushed it forward, and we're on this fight to bring that middle support and not make it so extreme that you're at such a low point where you see no way out, or you're at a point where you have a risk of your children being taken away from you.
Because if you see everybody on school run in the morning for a minute or two and it's like a high bye, it's very easy to mask a smile. It's very easy to, just put up like a really big smile, just for the sake of masking. It's really easy in those very short moments to do that. So you genuinely do not know what's going on in anyone's life unless you have more of like a deeper conversation with them. And during school run, it's very hard to do that with every mum.
But not even that. People find it so hard to even understand what's going on internally, right? To even put a name to it. They struggle even to say I'm sad, or I'm stressed, or I'm overwhelmed, or they don't even know what it's called. They just know that inside they're not coping, or so even having the right vocab of what's going on inside is a huge kind of
course
benefit to any mum.
I completely understand, because I've been through PPD in the first year of my daughter's life, and I knew it was bad when, and I've said it many times on this podcast, but I knew it was bad when I didn't say a word to my husband for a whole week. He would come home from work and I'm still in the same bed. I fed my daughter, changed her, did everything, but I'm still in the same clothes, still in the same bed, same position. And he would come home and he would ask me how my day was and how I'm doing, and I would barely say a word. And that lasted for like a whole week. And by like the 6th, 7th day, I thought, this can't... Like, it was so hard for me to speak. Like, it was... I was in such a dark place that... But at the same time, I also didn't want him to really... I didn't want him to know.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I wanted to also protect...
Of a sense of failure. And
I wanted to also protect his feelings. I didn't want him to feel like, panic, she's in a bad place. But I'm also not talking, so he knew something was wrong. So it was, it was really tough. So I totally get it when I hear that, like, it's that people don't open up when they're going through it, because I'm not the type to...
It's not easy.
I shut down completely, man.
No, but PPD itself is not hard. It's not easy. Because it's really difficult to go through that, because you kind of feel like your voice has been taken away from you. So it's not even the fact that you couldn't find the words. I think it's just the fact that you couldn't speak. Because I had the same thing. I experienced PPD as well in the first year of my daughter's life. And it only went away when she was about 2. I'd say a bit just after 2. And I felt like I couldn't speak either. Like, also I was extremely emotional, like when someone tries to confront me, like my mom, for example, she tries to say to me, like, are you okay? What's the matter with you? Like, I just cried because I couldn't find the words. And I'm a very articulate person. I'm able to like express myself. It's not that I failed with the words, it's that the words
Physically.
wouldn't come out, you know. Also fear of shame, and also trying to understand how you're here. Some people have never experienced depression before,
Yeah.
and then they have a kid and all of a sudden they're depressed,
Yeah.
and they don't know,
Yeah.
they've never been here before. You don't know how to navigate these waters.
Another thing that really like blew my mind was I knew how bad I felt, but everyone was treating me becoming a mum as such a joyful thing. I would get messages like, "Oh, this is such a blessing.
Yeah.
This is such a joyful time. Hope you enjoy it." So
Yeah.
there was a huge contradiction.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the way I was feeling and the messages I was getting, I was like, something must be wrong with me. Like I
Yeah.
must be
Yeah.
broken because
Yeah.
this does not feel joyful. I do not feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
I just feel sad. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna cry all the time.
Yeah.
Tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a complete, like, I was mind blown, completely mind blown by
we
the
were,
shift.
Attey and I were discussing earlier the journey of a woman, and I
Yeah.
think when you think of the biological changes that women go through pregnancy, birth, after, it's huge. And things like PPD, there's such a massive biological component to it that you feel like you're saying you can't find the words. It's a change, a fundamental change in the way you're functioning. It's very difficult to make sense of it and to understand what's going on. It's scary.
And I think from an internal kind of aspect of it, you're disconnected from truth, right? So your truth is that everyone's telling you it's a joyful moment, it's something to celebrate, you've just had a baby, but internally that's not what you're feeling at all. You're feeling overwhelmed or scared or fear or whatever your emotions were. So it's a kind of like looking out and seeing something completely different to what you're feeling internally. So it's that disconnection. And I think that's a kind of really important process of managing emotions, is really looking inward and being truthful to what's going on inside, regardless of what's going on outside. Like, what am I feeling? What is going on with me?
I can't imagine what that mum was going through.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ifs and buts and maybes, but there was lots of kind of stories behind it. But I mean, the root of it is that she was extremely depressed, and she didn't get any support.
Damn.
And to feel that, like I said, that there's no other option. In her head, she must have justified it by saying, you're better off out of here, right? My life, your life, all of us, we're better off out of here. So I'm going to take that into my own hands and I'm going to get us out of it. That's the only way I try to understand it from a mother's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, how else can a mother, that's your child, you gave birth to that, you know, that baby. How else would you ever be able to do such a thing? And I guess the only way is if you believe strongly from the bottom of your heart that taking them out is the best
option for them.
option and the only option.
That's insane.
But it's unfortunately, it is really common. I mean, just the other day, we had a baby left outside the church, right? You know, in Notting Hill.
I saw that. I saw the
I heard about
article
that.
in Notting Hill.
I mean, it's become like, it is heartbreaking, and it's like, where is the support for mums? Where?
I think there's
Right.
another lady as well who they believe that, because they say that it's the same DNA, they believe that this is the third child that she's abandoned.
really?
Wow.
And they're looking for her because they're like, what if there's a fourth? But now people are speculating online that it could be like a trafficking situation where she's locked up somewhere and unable to seek medical assistance, or somebody's hiding her and she's unable to find any form of like assistance with like hospitals or GPs or anything like that, because these babies have had no like
Care at all?
none
No.
whatsoever.
No.
So
It's
it's so
heartbreaking.
common, it's so sad,
Yeah.
honestly.
And I mean, we just see the amount of pressure and stress mums go through, right? Just giving birth alone, right?
It's traumatic.
It's traumatic. Like, I remember a few of mine, I literally thought that was it.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm coming out of this alive. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why we say, you know, in Islam, the Jannah is underneath your mother's feet, right?
course.
Heaven is underneath your
Listen.
mother's feet, because of the amount of sacrifices and pain and kind of tolerance we go through. Like, we had to be gifted something, right?
Yes, and then the sleep deprivation for like 3 years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's move on to Dr. Stella.
Introduce
yourself, and what do you do in your role?
In my field, so I'm a clinical psychologist,
Yeah.
and that means I've done an undergraduate in psychology and then gone on to do a doctorate in psychology, where I'm trained to deliver therapy and kind of understand human development. The training that I had is across the lifespan, so I've worked across different settings, across different populations, but chose to specialise in children and families. So since qualifying, have worked in CAMS, which is Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services.
Wow.
And more recently I'm working in social care, so in a small CAMS team in a social care team, so working specifically to support young people in care. And yeah, why I got into it, it's not sure where to start. My mum's actually in the business, so she's a psychoanalyst, so I'm sure that had some hand in it, but it's also just an area I found really fascinating. I love working with children, their honesty, their openness, their curiosity. It's a population I really enjoy working with, and I think the sense that we know what works best is early intervention, and if you can intervene early on in someone's life, you can really change the kind of life trajectory and what their future holds for them. So that feels really important. And then the last thing I was going to add was a book that I read in my teenage years that I loved, that I think really sparked my interest, which was called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. So I think that was my kickstart into it. But yeah, that's pretty much my journey today.
Wow.
Oh, this is amazing. It's like we have someone who works with the mothers and then someone who works with the children.
This is why we say we work so perfectly together.
I love that. Yeah, so you guys work together. What do you guys do together?
We don't work together in the sense of, like, Stella obviously works in CAMS, but I came to Stella and I was like, we need to help mums, like, we need to do something about this, and I really want to put a workshop on at schools, and I want to deliver conscious parenting, because just like Stella said, if we get in there early and we help the mums kind of navigate, what a child actually needs, forget the wants, forget what society wants, forget, all the extra cherries on the top, let's get to the root cause of what a child actually needs to thrive in life. And I came to Stella and I said, I've got the foundation of that, and it's the 777 approach, and it's based on Islamic psychology, and she went through it and she was just like, this is all in line with Western psychology, let's do it.
Oh wow.
So we did it. We started with giving we did 5 workshops at our school, which were a huge success. Like, everybody loved them, and we both came from different angles, so I would bring in lots of kind of spiritual aspects to it, and then Stella would give all like the doctors and the science behind it.
Evidence.
Yeah, so she did all the science part and I did the spirituality part, and we kind of and I think we've always had that real common ground. Our daughters were best friends growing up in primary school and things like that. So we've always had that sisterhood kind of mentality, right? We've always been like, are you okay? Yeah, you good? Yeah. Do you need anything? No, do you need anything? No, we're good.
That's so sweet.
For the years and years that we've known each other, so we've got that sisterhood mentality, and it's like we want to give that to other people as well, because we see individuals really struggling.
And very much was thinking that idea of a community, that the motto, it takes a village to raise a child, that sense of if you can help each other with it and look after each other, that makes a huge difference. So not even saying to Attey, can you help me, but just her asking, are you okay, makes a difference. So that means, just to support those kind of relationships being developed and mothers helping each other in that way, that was where we were coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Stella said, it's just that one line, you okay? You're right. Do you need anything?
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Witnessing a mum, like, having
and
a
coming
rough day.
from another mum who is going to deal with all the stuff that you're dealing with as well, is a different sense of safety and trust in that as well.
Oh, that's what our channel is very big on, that. Like, we are pushing for people to find their village, for people to find their tribe, their people, mums that they can relate to them, that they feel safe and comfortable around. We push for that so much. Even like when we host our events, because we've hosted 2 events so far, we like to put mums in a place where they can, like,
connect with each other.
break the ice, you know, because sometimes as adults it's difficult for us to be like, hey, how are you? You want to go for coffee, you know? But we put them in a place where it's like, ask the questions. Even at our last event, one mum put her hand up and she was like, I have a kid who's autistic. All the other mums with all the other like with their autistic like children, they huddle together. Like, you know, like you find people who can relate to you, who you feel comfortable around. And then you form friendships. They make a group chat. They go out together. Like, it honestly makes me so happy because you're not the only person going through these struggles, and I feel like that's half of the battle. Is when you feel like you're alone in it, and
makes it so much harder.
Oh my god, just knowing you're not by yourself, just knowing that other people go through this, it can take off the weight, like half of the weight, you know. And now you have someone to speak to figure out what you can do to make things even better.
And it is such a lonely journey.
It is.
And you could be surrounded by a huge family, in-laws, mothers, grandparents, cousins, but yet still feel so isolated and still alone.
And friends, because that you think the change in your life from before children,
Yeah.
suddenly you're on an island on your own doing a completely different thing, and it is really lonely.
Especially if your friends don't have
Haven't
any
got
kids.
kids
You're
yet.
the
You're the
first.
first one.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be a crazy episode for me because I really went through it, and during this journey of motherhood I also learned how to I learned a lot more about myself, right? So what I'm realizing is it's not really about the child, it's how I'm reacting to different situations. So when I'm stressed, how am I parenting? When I'm sad, how am I parenting? The same year my daughter was born, I think that was I would probably say one of the most stressful years of my life, because we lost a few family members due to COVID. My husband lost his brother to COVID. I lost my grandma like a month before she was born. There was a lot going on, and then I got depressed, and so man, this episode is going to hit deep for me. But can we talk about Attey, can we talk about what's the most common struggle a mother comes to you with?
Absolutely, every mother that comes is on their own individual journey, and I have to support them on their own individual journey, right? I can't just come in and say, oh, there's a wand here and one size fits all. No, that's not the case in anyone I work with. But a lot of it, the mum doesn't actually understand what's going on internally. And they will come and they say, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. Your body is reacting perfectly fine, the way that it should react to what's been put in, right? It's like an ingredients to a cake, right? You're going to expect a cake to come out once you've put all the ingredients in. So exactly what we put in internally is exactly what's going to come out. But unfortunately, us as mums, and many people, not just mums, women, men, and society nowadays, we push it down. We don't want to face that emotion that's coming up. We don't want to allow ourselves to feel it. And I think that's where the pain is. It's like, no, I don't want to feel that right now. I've got a baby to look after. I don't want to feel that right now because my husband's going to see and he's going to judge me on it. Or I don't want to feel that right now because there's a death in the family and I got to grieve that death. I'm not allowed to feel whatever you're feeling. So first, it's identifying, right, the internal wounds. And when I work with mums from a Muslim background, we do this from the purification of the heart. So we identify the 25 sicknesses of the heart, and we kind of analyze it through internal wounds of how that comes up and how that navigates into the way you live. From a universal perspective, because obviously I translate everything I do into a universal perspective to work with any mum and every mum, because that's what I'm extremely passionate about. We just bring it up as words, like identify, what is it? Let's take it right back. And sometimes a different approach to therapy could really help identify where the wounds come from. So a psychodynamic approach is more kind of going back into childhood. And was you shamed a lot as a child? Was you embarrassed a lot as a child? Was you put down a lot as a child? Were you told you're stupid as a child? because now all of a sudden you've become a mum and you've had these limiting beliefs of you're stupid. Then you believe I'm stupid, and how on earth am I supposed to raise this child if I'm stupid? So first we identify the kind of internal wounds, and then we take it from there.
Because it's like subconscious, isn't it? Like if you're told enough times that you're stupid, you might not say I'm stupid, but
subconsciously
you don't know why you can't do this, but you've already said I can't do this. I don't know why I can't.
And there's a difference between being told that by your main carer as a child, or
and
someone, a friend saying that to you in your
Yeah.
20s, right? You that has a different significance and a different importance. You take that in, and that forms part of who you are in a different way. So those early experiences are really powerful, and will set. That's where we talk quite a lot in psychology, intergenerational patterns or intergenerational trauma. These things get handed down. What her mum did to her, she'll do to her daughter. It's all subconscious. You don't know. We're in that state of just doing, of not thinking, not reflecting.
Wow, when it comes to calling your children names and stuff, you're making me feel like a great parent right now, because I tried my best not to do any of that
pattern.
And thankfully for me, my mum never called me like she had a whole bunch of other insults that were not related to my intelligence, thank goodness. So the ones in our culture, our parents sometimes say "ayo," which means like you dog.
All right, okay.
Like sort of like himar, or like you know,
I'm gonna make Somalis look really bad.
yeah, but like I'm not gonna carry the dog.
Kind of meaning,
do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna carry being called a dog into adulthood.
Yeah, but they're also so nuanced, right? Because that's said in a way that that it has a different cultural reference. It's from your mum who loves you.
Yeah.
That's different than if a mum says it to her son as she kicks him and shuts the door on him. So it's not simple,
right? Yeah.
but these things, these messages we get in our early lives are really powerful.
Yeah. But going back to the most common, I would say anxiety is huge, right? And everyone is struggling with anxiety, whether it's kind of manageable anxiety or whether it's anxiety that's completely taken over your life. Anxiety just seems to be a very common reason why mums kind of seek out help. But again, it's another thing. Obviously, social media has a huge role to play in this perfect mum, a perfect child, a perfect house, a perfect job, a perfect career, a
perfect husband, perfect relationship,
right?
perfect marriage.
And one thing that I always say, and we say it so much, is that there is no such thing as perfect, right?
Facts.
It's a big illusion that you're chasing and that you will never get to. So as soon as you kind of break away from that, it's okay to struggle now and then. It's normal. It's perfectly fine. It's okay to manage these emotions. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I think it kind of breaks that idea of how a mother should be and look and present herself and her children should act, and because it's a very damaging weight to carry around, right? That you have to look like that and you have to be like that, and it's huge. It's huge for us to carry that around.
The scariest part as well is some women, they get PPD for maybe the first couple of years, but there's a lot of women who suffer for 7-8 years. And Dr. Stella, from your perspective, how would that affect a child in their early years if their mother is still going through mental health problems?
So I think first thing to say, again, thinking of that stigma and blame element, is every mother goes through mental health problems, right? It's a really difficult experience. But I think one of the damaging things of those types of experiences can be the interference in the relationship that you form with your child, or your capacity to kind of respond and parent your child. So in psychology, we talk about attachment, which is this first experience a child has of a relationship with a primary carer. Typically it's the mum because of our culture, but it could be anyone, whoever is the main person delivering care to that child in those first few years. And if you also think about it, that's a point in a child's life where they don't really have verbal skills, they don't have the capacity to really understand what's going on, they're more just experiencing and reacting to those experiences, and they're kind of living them, and it becomes part of them. You internalize it, this is how you create your sense of yourself. So if you have a mother who's very depressed, what can happen is there isn't this capacity to kind of develop that attachment bond in the way that they might if they weren't depressed. So there becomes less attunement to their child's emotions, less responsiveness to their child's experiences and emotions. So I'd say that's the main, that's why, I mean, of course, to ease the mother's suffering as well, but that's why there's also a big emphasis on maternal mental health, because we know it goes on to affect the child and the child's development. So if you're looking at it from a societal point of view, if you don't sort that out there's going to be 10 more problems later on down the line to deal with.
Absolutely.
What would you suggest be the first step? Because I really tried to go to the GP and the GP let me down, and I never went back for help after that. I just kind of sat with it. Is there any other avenues that you can...
The system that we have in this country is health visitors. So usually the health visitors, the kind of design of the services and the design of the system is that the health visitors will go in and do those first checks after. Well, you get the midwives, don't you, at the very beginning, and then it shifts to health visitors. So in theory, the health visitors are going into the family home, they're seeing the mother in their environment with the child, and they're making those observations. I don't know if you ever remember, I remember them specifically introducing these questions around mental health within the health visitor checks. You know, have you had low mood? How are you feeling? So I think there is a shifting awareness of it, but it is still a kind of neglected area, and it often comes down to funding, to what services are available, to what provision is available in each local area, and it really varies. So well done for going to the GP. I'm really sorry you didn't get that support, but that's another gateway, right? The way the system is designed, that if for any referral onto any specialist treatment or support you need, that should be via the GP. So the GP should have, listened and heard and then made a referral for you. And there are specialist perinatal mental health services. So I know you guys have done an episode on postpartum psychosis, which I'm very impressed with. Well done.
Thank you.
But there's really kind of severe areas of mental health, and obviously it has a huge impact on the mother and the child, and there are very specialist services set up. So again, sorry you had a bad experience, but my advice would be the first port of call should be to try and get help. And whether it's talking to a friend, talking to a family member, talking to a professional, whoever you feel safe and comfortable to do it with, try and share that.
Yeah, honestly, that honestly made me spiral even more.
I bet.
They booked me in for a smear test.
As that was their solution.
Like, I literally told them, I need to talk to the doctor about my mental health and blah, blah, blah. They were like, yeah, cool, come on this day. I waited 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks, I was really excited to talk to a doctor. I come and they were like, are you ready for your smear test? And I'm like, what the hell?
I'm so sorry.
So I was like, I literally stormed out. I said, no, I'm not coming back. And that was it after
Huge
that.
letdown.
Yeah, but just the fact that you acknowledged that you needed some support.
I actually
that's
reached
huge.
out. Yeah.
That is huge. Just the fact that you've said, you know what, I'm not okay.
Yeah, and the
Something's
courage
not
that
right.
takes.
Right. That is... Hold on.
Yeah.
Because it's so
Thank
sad.
you.
After you have a baby and the health visitor comes, I fear a lot of women feel like if they speak honestly about how they feel, that somebody's going to call social services.
Come and take your baby away.
Yeah, and in that moment when you're already so vulnerable, people don't have the strength to deal with social services or to deal with the possibility that somebody's going to call them unfit or somebody's going to try to take their kid away. So
and it's another added fear, right? So you're already fearful of how am I supposed to navigate being a mum? I've just given birth, I've never done this before or whatever, right? And I'm struggling with what's going on. And then another fear on top of that, if I'm honest and if I'm truthful, someone's going to come and take this baby away. So it's just like fear added. And this is where anxiety comes from, right? It's the constant fear being pumped into us.
Fear that something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's also take the opportunity to slightly correct because I grew up in this country as well, and I understand the narratives, but actually social care is designed to deliver support, not just take children away. And there is a whole department within social care. Most teams that I've worked, certainly the team I'm in now has it, and most teams I'm aware of, which is called early intervention, which is pre-child in need, pre-child protection, just that recognition. It is hard being a parent, it's hard raising children, and they're there to offer support. And unlike health services within the NHS, they have access to funding in a different way, so they can also put funding support in. So I know social care is a really scary concept, but actually I think there's also something about challenging some of that and seeing that they are also a place where people can get support and help from. And sometimes it is the right thing to do to let, not sometimes, it is the right thing to do to let people know that you're struggling. There is support out there, there is help.
So
I
for
think-
us, sorry to interrupt.
I was going
You
to
go.
say, I think there is still a whole kind of, oh my gosh, if social services are called, then, you know, you automatically think they will be taken away. You don't think they're coming to support you. You don't think they're coming to offer any kind of, you know, silver lining. You do have that negative thought of panic, panic, panic. I've got to now pretend again to be this fine mum.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I think back in the day, maybe we would just pump so much fear about social services, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't any good, healthy stories that social services
Right.
came and helped me.
They need
Like,
to
where do
do
you
a
hear those
PR
stories,
campaign.
right?
No, seriously, because for us it's cultural.
Yeah.
So our
Yeah.
parents would hear,
Yeah.
oh, so and so, somebody
Yeah,
put
yeah.
socials
Got
on
taken
them,
away,
and their
or-
kids
Yeah.
got taken away.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was
And it's a terrifying prospect,
so
isn't it?
much
Yeah.
fear mongering
Yeah.
regarding social services. And even for me, I've had friends and people that I know call me and be like, oh my god, socials are going to get involved, and they're actually panicking.
Yeah.
And I've had to say to them, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're a great mum.
Yeah.
They're here to
Help you.
look and see what's going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
and they obviously have the child's best interest at heart
Yeah.
to make sure they're growing up in a safe and healthy and happy environment.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're providing for your kid, just
Nothing
just
to worry about.
cooperate, just
Yeah.
be normal, you know. You don't have to fear, like, don't fear it, because if you're afraid, you're going to mess up, you know. But also at the same time, it's
Also being afraid
been
has the
put into-
opposite effect of getting support, doesn't
Yeah.
it? It's like Attey saying, it's like, I was thinking when you'd asked that question, you know, the most common problem, I was thinking it's managing all the demands of parenting.
Yeah.
And it manifests with anxiety, but you think of the pressures that are put on parents these days and everything they've got to deliver and all of the demands of that. It is a lot. It's a really, really difficult job. And you think about parents who've done that without having had their own experience of a loving home or a supportive family, or, you know, any of the kind of complicating factors that young families have in their lives. And thinking I've had everything and I've still found it difficult. So to try and imagine how other people manage that, it's huge.
And it's the hardest job in the world, right? It is.
Genuinely.
There is no question or doubt about it.
Yep.
A mother's job is the hardest job in the world. Now we're doing this with no help, with no support, with no guidance, with no roadmap, with no salary, with no nothing, right?
With the fear that if you get it wrong, you're going
in
to get your
trouble.
children taken away.
So
Yeah.
there's add that all together, and what's going to come out?
Yeah.
Anxiety.
Yeah. And then you also were talking about that social media culture that we're in now, and you think of that element of looking and scrolling and seeing everyone else's amazing lives and beautiful children and how well they're doing it, and then it's not real. That's not what people's lives are like, but you're left feeling, well, I can't
Failing.
compare. I'm failing.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed.
Why
and
am I
this is
not like that,
awful. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but sexy sells, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything
When
is
everybody's
aesthetic.
house is so clean, it's the-
aesthetically
they're
pleasing.
selling you an
Yeah, yeah,
idea,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because now that they're setting foundations for their brand, so
Yeah,
that now
exactly.
when brands are looking to collaborate with them,
Yeah.
this perfectly clean house, you know,
Yeah.
perfect person who's doing everything so perfectly.
And there's the expectation everyone should be doing that.
But this is the problem. Social media has been so accessible to us, and the growing number of mums who are mumfluencers and, you know, people who are in this space who look like they've got it, like got all their shit together.
All those ones who are like, I'm just baking a pretzel from scratch.
Oh yeah, we've had a few conversations about that one, haven't we? My husband wanted some ice cream, so I'm making it from scratch.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think she made a toothpaste once. She social media toothpaste, that's hilarious.
It's unrealistic, isn't it?
And there is another side, because I've got a lovely sister-in-law who sends me amazing memes of all the, like, you know, the demands of the nightmare of parenting.
Yeah.
But I guess there's the predominant narrative, isn't it, is this thing of we're perfect, everyone's perfect, you should be perfect. If you're not, then you're a failure, and it's not real. So it creates this impossible standard, this impossible expectation that you feel, if I'm not matching up to that, then I am failing.
Yeah. No, honestly, I was literally speaking about this before when it comes to social media. And there was one time I had like a light bulb moment because I posted something on my story. I think I posted something like, now I get to relax. Both kids are in bed. I get to watch my show on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. And I did like a cute little picture of like my TV. And then someone responded to that story to say, you make motherhood look easy. She doesn't have children.
Right.
And I was thinking, you have no idea
What it took to get here.
Just the day that I've had.
Exactly.
like the kids even slept late. They didn't even get to bed on
Or like what
time.
my house looks like outside of this screen that you see.
Like sometimes you even angle the picture so we're going to look at the floor right now.
Just the top corner of
There's
the
too
room.
many crumbs, so let me just angle it. But that's when I realized that people have a different perspective to your reality. Like you might be going through something, but they will look at your story and think she's got it together. And I think ever since that moment, I was like, I started to analyze my stories
Think
a bit
about
more
what
now.
you're
I'm
sharing,
thinking, how does this make me look if I
And it's
post
very
this?
difficult, isn't it? Because you never know how someone's going to interpret it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different ways.
See, I said the other day on one of our episodes that, I mean, what's wrong with taking your kids to school when you're wearing pajamas? And people have dragged me. People have dragged me. I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking about my own situation. My kid's school is across the road. And I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm wearing pajamas, everyone in the comments, this is disgusting. That's like, I don't know how people could leave their house like that.
But I think with social media, there's also a bit that, what's it called? The road rage effect, right? Because you're not seeing someone face to face. There's no consequence to what you say. So you can say the most horrible things that you wouldn't, that person wouldn't come and say that to your face, would she?
Well, I don't
But she
think
can
so.
post it
Yeah.
there. So I think you also, what you get back on social media can be so toxic and kind of disturbing in that way.
Yeah.
This is why I follow all the accounts that like my house is messy and this is my
It's a
reality.
real
authentic.
Watch me clean,
Those
and
are-
then it's
those are
like
all the memes
a
I
tit
love.
is like upside down, and you're like, wow, I feel a bit better about my mess.
And you know why? Because it connects you back to truth, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like when you're disconnected from truth, this is where you start feeling that pain. But when you connect yourself back to actually everybody else's house is a mess. And you're only seeing that one corner, or you're only seeing it, and that is the truth. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm cool now. I can be happy. I can sit in my little sofa and have my crumbs on my floor or whatever, because it connects you back to truth.
Yeah. And let's be honest, every single one of us, we do this. When we have people coming over, we clean the house.
100%.
You know, like, so
100%.
every time we go to other people's homes and we're looking around and we're thinking, damn,
It's so clean here.
this house is, they probably keep this house clean all the time.
Yeah,
These
exactly.
times they were just rushing just 10 minutes before you came, mopping the floors.
10 minutes. Not in my house.
But literally, we all have the same. We all have the same reality, and
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. I mean, and that's, I think that's so important to push out, right?
Yeah.
It's, we are raising the next generation. So we have to be honest with ourselves so they can grow up being honest with themselves and not have this whole mask on constantly.
Facts.
Right? Because otherwise they go through life facing this mask and putting it on, and to the outside world they're this person, and then to somebody else they're this person, and then again they get completely disconnected to their truth because they don't even know who they are anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we know who we are. We're comfortable with who we are and our truth. And yes, we have got pain, and yes, we have had trauma or whatever it is. We're okay with that. We're working on
Yeah.
it. And so should you be, right? I think it's so important to kind of push that to the next generation.
I completely agree, and definitely someone needs to do like a PR campaign for social services. They've got a really bad rep. They need to work. They need to work on. They need to help. They need some help.
Yeah, for sure.
No, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
can we talk about attachment styles? Because I'm really intrigued about that, and a lot of people, I see I see TikToks about it. People talking about their attachment
become
styles.
quite
Like
a thing
anxious,
these days,
anxious
yeah.
avoidant, or
Yeah,
those ones.
Can you
Yeah.
guys go through the different
bring
attachment
them up.
styles?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
sure.
doing that too.
Because I'm turning 32 this year, and I feel like I don't know who I am, and I don't know
So
what attachment
I'll
style.
start by saying I take it with a slight pinch of salt, the way
Okay.
it's been translated into
Okay.
modern culture and social media.
Okay.
So attachment, it originated from this psychological theory, but from John Bowlby, observing how the different relationships between mothers and their children. And the classic experiment that he would do is he would take a child and a mother and put them in a room, a strange room that they hadn't been in before. The mother would leave and he'd observe how the child would behave. I think there was a stranger who'd come in and leave, and then when the mother would return. So it was observing what it's essentially is about: safety, security, that sense of kind of, through child development, children go through this process of kind of developing a sense of the world outside. Yeah, and it's a complicated, layered process. So, for example, one element of it is this development of something called object permanence, which is beginning to recognise an object is permanent. When it's not in my line of sight, it doesn't cease to exist. So the classic experiment was, if you take a toy and you hide the toy, does the child look for it? No, that means they don't have their object permanence. Yes, they do. Right, they've developed it. So these are the things that children develop through the early years. So attachment is a kind of fundamental part of that, because it's this idea that we've developed to, you know, from an evolutionary perspective, our parent is our source of safety and food and survival, and we develop this relationship where I'm kind of referring back to that figure, that attachment figure, in order to kind of ensure my survival and my safety. So if you think, as we've kind of developed and become more sophisticated and more complicated creatures, that relationship has as well. So I think in social media world, it gets used in a very simplified way.
Yeah.
But essentially it's looking at, that he came up with these classifications. Have you got them, Attey? You can read them, of different styles of attachment, and he's given a definition of it. But I think I'd be a little bit cautious in how that gets interpreted today or used in kind of diagnosing myself as this or that style. It's quite a complicated construct.
Yeah.
But
That's
I'll
a
probably-
doctor's answer.
I probably fell for the propaganda because now I'm
it's
sitting there like,
not propaganda.
am I avoidant? Am I avoidant?
There is a lot in
Yeah.
it, but it's also something I think that needs to be understood as something quite complex. It's not a simple. I wouldn't feel confident that you could do a magazine questionnaire and diagnose yourself at the end with an attachment style. It's more complicated than that, is what I'm saying.
So you can you can identify certain patterns, let's say. So a secure attachment style would be somebody who was brought up in a home similar to like a conscious parent, right? Who were given the ability to name emotions, to feel safe with emotions, to
Have healthy ways of dealing
have
with
healthy
difficult
ways of
emotions.
dealing, have that love and connection from at least one caregiver. Like Stella said, it doesn't necessarily have to be the mum.
Okay.
It could be a dad, it could be an uncle, it could be a
Grandma.
grandma.
Yeah.
As long as you've got that one solid person in your life where you feel that deep love and connection, then you're good. Like, you have a good foundation. You've got a strong foundation there.
Okay.
So that's a secure attachment style. That's somebody that has been brought up in a home where they have that love and connection. They have a good understanding of emotion. They weren't shamed as a child. They weren't kind of bullied as a child. And I mean, as sad as it is, I do see parents bullying children. Like, don't think bullying just happens on the school playground. Like, it happens at home too. So yeah, that's a kind of secure.
So that would be the mother leaves the room, the child's anxious to see her go. When the mother comes back, she's happy and she greets the mother with love and joy, not anger, not upset.
Yeah.
The stranger comes in, she's wary of the stranger. There's this sense of security, in a sense that this is the person who I am safe with and who kind of looks after me. And that develops into giving them a blueprint for their relationships throughout their life.
Okay, wow.
So that's the power of the attachment relationship.
So when my daughter was a baby, like really small, I think maybe like 6 months old, I saw a video online and it said something like parents who, when they're toddlers, it was of a toddler age, when they just hide or like leave the house, and then their kid panics and doesn't know where they are, it will mess them up later on in life. And there are a lot of these videos, when we were speaking about it before, there's a lot of these videos around of like, if you do this, you're going to traumatize your kid later on. So I saw that video and it said something like, if you want to avoid this, just make sure you say goodbye to your child every time you leave the house properly. And I actually implemented it, and I tried it. And from when she was small, she'd cry, of course. But I'd give her a kiss at the door. I'd put my shoes on. I'd put my jacket on. And then I'll say, I'm coming back soon. I'm just going out. I'll see you later. And at first she cried. She was with my mom. And then eventually she was like, see you later. Because she knew I was coming
also
back.
Crying is appropriate too. Right? She's being separated from you. She doesn't want you to go. So that's not a problem. And then you're teaching her, you can trust me. What I tell you, I'm leaving you with someone safe. And I'm going to make sure I come back and I return. So that's building that foundation of trust in the relationship. One of the concepts I also really wanted to bring in was the idea of a good enough parent. I don't know if we want to finish attachment and we can come back to that after.
So there's 4 different styles.
You can hold that thought,
so
in that one.
There's 4 different styles, and obviously, I mean, these forms and things quizzes you can do online, you can get a rough idea of things that have been brought up for you. So if you have an avoidance attachment style, this is somebody who goes through life, pushes everything down, you know, and they weren't given the capacity to emotionally bring it out as a child, right? They were either having to support the mum. Usually this is where they say avoidance comes from, is where you perhaps had to parent your own parents. Because you now take on that role of being the caregiver, you now have to take on that role of the reverse role, right? So you've got no time for your feelings. Your feelings don't matter. I need to make sure everybody else is safe and everybody else is okay. So I push down. I avoid my feelings. I avoid my feelings. And then unfortunately what happens, we've pushed it down, it forces its way out. It needs healing. You can't, I mean, and I say this so often, it's like we have external sicknesses, right? If we get cut and we see a cut and it bleeds, we see it and we pay attention to it and we heal it, right? We look after it, we put a plaster on it, we cream it, we do whatever we need to heal that wound. But just because we can't see our internal wounds, we neglect until it screams its way out and says, face me. I can't, you need to heal. And then again, if it's still pushed down, unfortunately we see, you know, it come out in diseases and chronic diseases and things like that, because it's another way of forcing it out. Like, it has to come out, but we avoid and we push down. So yeah, there's those four styles, and again, don't take it for word like Stella says, but it can be a good indication if you think back to your childhood and think the way you were raised and your upbringing and the foundation and what you went through as a child. You can kind of get an understanding of your attachment.
So for me, I kind of see attachment, like, from what, like, I've learned on social media, that it's more relationship based. Like,
Absolutely,
it's not, people don't really focus on you as a child and like how you became like this. They more do it like, how are you gonna be with a partner? So are you gonna be the anxious avoidant, or like they've complicated it, and my brain is just a little bit like, what am I?
It's that idea that it's a blueprint, right? So if I learned in my earliest, most kind of impactful experience that if I'm upset I get love and care in return, I'm going to go on in my relationships to expect that from other people, and when I don't get it, I'm going to see that as an anomaly, and I'm going to think, well, I should be getting that, and I'm going to recognise that as unhealthy, and I'm going to move away and find a healthier relationship. If I haven't had that experience, again, that sets my kind of expectation and my understanding. And fundamentally, we're relational. So all of our you know, we're a social species. All of our kind of sense of ourselves and our sense of meaning in the world is developed in the context of relationships. So it is a relational thing, but it has a huge impact on also how I see myself, what I feel my self-worth is, how I expect others to treat me, what I think I deserve in the world. So these are really powerful experiences that we carry on and take with us and carry for the rest of our lives in that way.
Wow.
And a really simple line to kind of keep in mind is your personal reality becomes your personality, right? So whatever you were exposed to as a child, your personal reality, whether it was chaotic, whether it was mum and dad screaming, whether it was whatever, now becomes your personality.
Wow.
So if you don't know how to identify your attachment style, or you get so confused about it, just take a step back a minute and say, okay, what was my personal reality growing up? And how has that formed my personality today?
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a better insight of it now, Soya?
Yeah, definitely.
But then can I add in, because I think that can end up feeling a huge amount of pressure for mums to carry, right? This sense of feeling the care I give my child is gonna like set them up or destroy them for life. So I think that's where I also want to bring in the concept of the good enough parent.
Perfect timing.
Please, because
I'm thinking I might be traumatized.
yeah, literally, I'm like, oh my
There's
god.
always ways to repair, right?
Well, so the concept of the good enough parent was also developed by a psychoanalyst in the kind of 50s, and then I think he published in the 1970s. It was called Donald Winnicott. And his theory was, and it's interesting because I was reading up on it in preparation for this, and they were saying that he developed it in response to, or kind of shared it in response to a feeling that professionals were getting too involved in family life. And so his kind of pushback was, actually, for a child, children don't need perfect parents. Actually, having a perfect parent could be detrimental. It can create anxiety. It can create this sense of, you know, these expectations that I've got to live up to. Making a mistake is wrong.
Oh, wow.
You know, if the threat of failure becomes huge.
OCD also.
OCD, all of these things could be manifestations of that, right? Wow. So the idea of a good enough parent is actually that there's value in getting it wrong as a parent. We don't need to be perfect. That is not what our children need from us. What they need is us to be trying our best, but we're human and we mess up like everybody else. So it is, I don't think, well, when I was reading up on it, he said something like, original theory said something like, we only need to be perfect 30% of the time. I was
30?
like, that's really low. Maybe I shouldn't go and say that online. And I haven't heard that in more recent research. I've only heard that reading up. So, but I thought it does give you an indication, right? If you think of the quality of the amount of time we spend with our children, 100% of that time does not have to be perfect. We can do really well if we can, you know, try intentionally, consciously to make the most of, so let's say 50% of that time with our children. They don't need us to get everything right all the time.
Wow.
Showing them I make a mistake, showing them I can repair a mistake, showing them it's not the end of the world is really important.
It's a huge skill for a child to learn, right? Huge.
Yeah.
It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're going to learn from the mistakes, and we're going to recover from the mistake.
Yeah.
And when mummy makes a mistake, I'm okay with it. I own it.
Yeah.
You know, I've made
And
that
it's
mistake.
valuable.
Whoops, silly
I
me,
learned.
or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But saying, oh, mummy doesn't make mistakes, everything is perfect, or, you know, then
How are you ever going to live up to that?
Yeah, and what are you teaching your child?
Yeah. And there's a concept that's talked a lot about today with children, which is resilience, which again, if you're thinking about resilience,
Yeah.
you know, if you can't make a mistake, the first time you make a mistake, you fall apart, you've got no resilience. So actually resilience comes from being able to recover, being able to deal with mistakes, being able to make mistakes and getting on with things, carrying on.
And that was one of the really core kind of things we pushed in our conscious parenting workshops, was that when you constantly give a child what they want, right? When you're constantly, and we see this so often where parents do not want to, or they can't handle the trauma of the child having, you know, a tantrum in the supermarket or wherever,
Because you won't buy them
because
the
you
toy.
won't buy them the toy that they're screaming for, right? Oh my God, what do? I just need to buy them the toy because then they'll be quiet and then everyone will stop staring at me. And what you're doing is, when you're constantly keep giving in to this child's wants and wants and wants, you're basically taking away such a powerful skill from them, because you are taking away the ability to learn how to not always get what you want, right? And that is a life skill. That is a huge life skill. We're never going to get what
This
we
life
want
will
all
humble
the
you.
time. Absolutely, right?
Yeah. You also
And
don't
need
wanna
to
raise
be
a
okay with
narcissist.
that.
No, exactly.
You need to be okay with that. You need to
Yeah.
be okay with, I didn't get that job, or I didn't get invited to that birthday party. It's okay. Like, you need to be
Yeah.
okay with being told no. You need to be okay with not getting things all the time whenever you want them. And the problem that we see now is that we do have, I mean, a pot, let's say, where people go into debt now because money's become so available all the time, and taking loans out or whatever, where mothers are in extreme debt because they are constantly just trying to give the child whatever they want, because they can't handle that emotional breakdown when the child's having that tantrum on the floor. So again, we take it back to the mum and we say, okay, what is coming up for you? Why are you struggling so much with little Johnny on the floor having a nervous breakdown?
But also reframing that actually you're not denying your child or harming your child if you don't give them everything you
Absolutely,
want.
yeah.
If you tell your child no, if you have a firm, loving
Yes.
approach with boundaries, that is what gives
You're
your
giving
child
a child
Yes.
skill.
Yeah.
You're not taking anything away from them. You're
'Cause
actually giving
you're
them
not
a
denying
powerful
them.
skill.
They're not going to die if they don't have a magazine. They're not
No.
going to die if they don't have that toy in Tesco.
No.
Like, he's screaming or she's screaming on the floor in Tesco.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world.
No, which is also where we go back to that sense of community, right? Because if you feel, we've all been there, if
Yeah.
you get a look from a mum who smiles and nods and sympathises with you, or you get judgmental, like, oh, she's not in control of
Those
her
comments
children, the differences you feel in terms of how you respond to your child are huge. So actually, if we can kind of support each other as mothers with that and be, it's okay, I see you, I've been there, you're fine, just carry on. It's
We're
a
all in
totally
this
different
together,
experience.
right?
A couple of times I've actually gone up to mums whose children
Well
are
done.
screaming in Tesco, and I've been like, "You're right. How's it going? Are you okay?" And the kid looks at me like,
Yeah.
"I'm the one that's crying here."
Yeah, they're
I love
powerful
that.
messages.
And a couple of times mine has screamed on the floor in Tesco or Sainsbury's, and I've sat down and screamed with her.
Well done. When you told me that,
Yeah,
I was like,
honestly,
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
I've done it a few times in a few different places. People actually think I'm crazy, but the way that I'm looking at it is, you can't look at me like, why is she not controlling her 2-year-old? She's 2.
Yeah.
Who's gonna control a 2-year-old?
Exactly.
Who
Can't
can
reason with
control
them.
The 2-year-old can't control themselves. That's the
Yeah.
point. They're learning that. If
Right.
you don't give them the opportunity to learn, then they never master it.
yeah.
Also, I think you're totally. Oh, sorry. My voice just went funny. I think you're totally right about being a good enough parent, because recently I've had to say no a lot more to my kid, and to the point where, like, she was invited to a birthday party and we had filming that day, and it wasn't feasible, it wasn't going to work, it didn't make sense, right? So I said to her, "I'm sorry, you can't go," and she threw like she had a meltdown,
Yeah.
because she was like, "But everyone in my class is going and
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss out." Come Monday,
She
did
didn't.
anyone even say, "Oh
No.
my god, I went to this party"? They had forgotten about it by Monday. So she cried, and had I have given in, I would have missed filming.
Yeah.
But that's it. We put so much pressure on ourselves to keep up with the Joneses or whatever. You know, we put that pressure on ourselves. No. If my daughter doesn't go, then she's going to be the odd one out who didn't go. And then some mothers fall into that
Yeah.
trap real big, and they struggle real hard by telling their child no. Right? It's huge.
My daughter's dad struggles with telling her no, and I think it's a dad thing. I don't know what it is, but I think it's a dad thing. Like, now he's like becoming more firmer, because he's like, "Yo, she's taking the mic." But no, seriously, like, she will just throw tantrums with him. With me, I'm more like, "No," and she's like, "Okay, fine," and she'll try to like get around things, so she like negotiates with me. Whereas with him, it's just straight screaming, and I'm like, "You're 5, you don't do that anymore." I mean, it's okay if you do
But
it,
if you think
like,
about that, right, you've been given her the opportunity to develop negotiation skills.
Yeah.
That's going to get her far in life, right? As opposed to standing there and screaming.
You know, a couple of times she's won.
Yeah.
Like, a couple of times she's
I
actually so funny. This funny story. Sorry to interrupt this whole episode, but I had told her, because she misbehaved at school, or she did something at school that just wasn't on. And I said to her, well, when we go home, you're not going to watch any TV. So we have a routine. We go to the park after school every day just to get some energy out.
Yeah.
And then we go home. And luckily, it's all within the same vicinity. So we're in the park. And then I said to her, you know what? We're going to cut park short today. We're going to go home. But when you get home, I'm letting you know now, before we get there, no, there's no TV today. You're going to have to go play with your Tony's box, or go play... Shout out to Tony. Sponsor us. Go play with something, read a book. Like, we're not doing any TV today. So when we walked in, she was like, where's the remote? I was like, no, the remote's up there, you can't reach it. No remote, no TV. She starts having a meltdown, she starts crying, she starts screaming, TV. I said, I warned you already, we're not doing that. We're not having a TV today. So now I've sat down and minded my own business. I'm scrolling on my phone now. And she's banging her head against the wall. She's like screaming and shouting. And then she went to her room and she went quiet. And I'm thinking, well, I wonder what she's up to. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to leave her for 5 minutes, because I don't want to interrupt whatever she's doing right now. She could be reading a book. I don't want to interrupt it. So I minded my own business. She came back after 5 minutes and she said to me, like, with full chest, like complete confidence, she'd wiped her tears away. She was now like, okay. Calmed herself down. She went, Mummy, it's my body, it's my choice.
Oh, wow.
And I went, what?
That's why I love working with children.
And I went, what? I was so confused, because, like, how does this relate to TV? And I went, what? What are you talking about? And she went, you're not following it. It's my body and it's my choice. And my body says...
I want my body to sit and watch TV.
Yeah, my body says it wants to watch TV, and you're not listening to what my body
that's
wants.
That's her form of self-care, that's
Yeah.
And you know what? She won. I gave her the remote, because I was like, that's actually... You've impressed me there. This is good negotiation skills. Should I have given in? Or is that wrong?
I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that. You're rewarding a behaviour that you want to see again. So, but jokes aside, can I bring in another side of it, which is there is also an element when you're thinking about security, which is a fundamental thing with children and parenting. If the child feels in control, if the child feels they can get whatever they want whenever they want, and they're the one that can make that happen, that does not leave them feeling very safe.
Okay.
So actually the world is a pretty chaotic, dangerous, overwhelming place for a child, and how they make sense of it is through observing the parent and seeing the parent or the adults in their lives kind of order it and organise it. If they feel more powerful than the adults doing that, they do not feel safe.
Okay.
So there is another side of this, which Attey and I have talked a lot about, which is boundaries are necessary and important, and it's not about denying your child or abusing them. It's about giving them a sense of security and safety, and a parent maintaining that control is part of that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't condemn you at all for that action. I think that was fine, but I'm saying if there's part of this overall picture of your daughter feeling it's okay, you're the one who's in control. I mean, the fact she came to negotiate with you rather than, you know, going off and getting the remote regardless speaks to that, right? But it's about this kind of balance of the parent maintaining this sense of, and not abusing it, not kind of punishing the child with it, but maintaining this sense of control and order. That's what helps a child feel safe in the world.
Okay.
And my flip side
I want to hear Attey.
Okay, so
I saw you shake your head.
Because, so Stella's gone on the safety aspect, right? I'm going to go on the complete opposite side. As Muslims, we don't follow desires, right? We have a hold back on desire. So if we are constantly following our desires, then, you know, we fast in Ramadan to control our desires, to control our tongue, control our hunger, you know, this is why we fast. But when you're teaching a child to just, I choose to go and watch TV, my body says I want to go and watch TV, no, we don't just follow desires, right? We need to, you know, rein that back in, analyze that, and say, okay, have I got control over this desire, or is this desire controlling me?
Okay.
So that's a skill that we need to teach, regardless of Islamic or, you know, it's a universal skill that we don't just follow desires. And we had a really deep conversation about this on the way of how I've seen, and I've mentioned it to Stella, like a push for paedophiles having rights over children, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And they fight this fight of, I can't help who I'm attracted to, right?
Yeah, they've called it, what was it called? They've called it minor attracted or something like that. It's
So and
trying to normalise
this is
that.
Disgusting.
this is why I really strongly believe we should teach children from a very young age. We don't just blindly follow our desires, right?
okay.
We have to, because then anyone could walk around and be like, I just had the desire to go and kill that person.
Oh.
Okay, that's okay, because you had a desire to do it. No. I mean, where does it stop, right? Where's the cutoff line? I've just brought up an example of a paedophile, but there's so many other examples that we can see and witness in society today. So it's teaching our children that is this thing telling you in your ear, go and get that remote control because mummy's not looking, or whatever, I need to go and do this. Hang on a minute, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Is this truth? Is there negative action that's going to happen after it, or is this something that I can sit with and be like, no, okay, that's not the right thing to do, in terms of society, in terms of the world, in terms of modern kind of life we live in, or is this something coming from the lower self, the nafs, the shaitan, and in Western psychology we have this as well. We have the lower self, we have the higher self, we have the kind of
and I was just thinking also culturally, like we live in this kind of ultra capitalist culture, don't we, where actually desire and greed is reinforced all the time. So how do you try and bring your child up healthily in that context where they're not just kind of pursuing these empty desires all the time?
You know what it is, I wish I had known more about that, and maybe I would have handled it differently. Maybe let's do a workshop. Maybe let's do a workshop, because I need to learn some stuff. But the way I was looking at it in that moment, in that situation, was that like you've advocated for yourself, and
I hear that.
you've come in like a calm way, and also you've learned about my body, my choice, and now you're trying to implement it in your life. And that's the first time she'd ever done that, and I thought, I want to respect your body and your choice.
Absolutely.
So and I want her to know that my body, my choice is respected in like life. So if anyone tries to disrespect it,
absolutely,
she has that
But everything you're describing now is what Attey and I have talked about in the conscious parenting approach, right? Which is you go through this process of reflecting and thinking about it. You're not just acting blindly, led by your past experiences and traumas and your desires. You're thinking, you're trying to work this out. We don't always get it right. It doesn't matter, we're good enough. So even just going through that process of thinking and exploring that in your own mind, like that alone for me is enough. The fact that you're doing that actually doesn't matter to me that much whether you give in or not at the end of the day, because I'm pretty sure if we put it across 100%, you're not giving in 100% of the time.
No,
so do you know what I mean? It's this like bigger picture view of it, but it is this process of thinking and reflecting and trying to understand, where am I coming from, where is my child coming from, what are my values here, what matters to me. Those are the important parts of it.
But you're right about the desire
following
thing.
desires.
The desire thing is crazy.
It's pushed so much in every direction you can think of. Just go and be whoever you want to be. Just go and where's the limit? Where's the cup? We can't just be. We can't just. I remember my son. Was coming to me and like, Mum, if I could be whatever I want to be, then I could go and jump off that thing because I'll have wings and I'll be a bird and I'll fly. No, we're not birds. We can never be birds. Like we are never going to grow any wings. Like we can't just jump off buildings.
Kids,
which kind of goes back
intrusive
a bit.
thoughts.
Intrusive thoughts, but it also kind of goes back to what you were saying about truth, right? It's if you can kind of remain connected to your truth and what that means. That's the
What an incredible topic. This is so I feel like I could be here with you guys all day just talking about this. This is insane.
What would you... This is going to get really personal, but I feel like this is the best time.
Go for it, girl.
Because I got two experts here to help
You might
me
as well
out.
make use of it, so we are.
I feel like since becoming... And this is not even the usual identity crisis thing. I feel like now that I have two kids, second time around was a lot better. But I don't feel confident as a mum at all. And I just feel like I've become more of like an anxious person.
right. And how does it manifest?
I shut down. I snap very quickly. I always apologise after I snap. but I do lose my temper very quickly. I get overstimulated very quickly by noise. So if the TV's on, the baby is, you know, fussy or crying, and then my daughter's talking to me, I'm just like, okay, TV has to come off. Like I'm just like, okay, one at a time. Most of the time it just feels like I'm not enjoying it. And it's eating me up. Like
one of the most fundamental things I think about a parent-child relationship is that enjoyment in your child. And I think everything we've talked about today, these are the things that come in and interfere with that. The anxiety, the expectations, the worry, and to just find these moments where you can create a space to just connect and enjoy your child and do it honestly. Like, don't sit there thinking, I hate Lego, but I'm going to sit and play Lego and pretend I'm really enjoying it. Don't. Find something that you love and do that with your child, and take these moments. They don't have to be hours long. There's just a few moments a day, a few minutes a day is credit in the bank. Do it, and just make these kind of conscious, deliberate times to just come together and share with them. So I guess I'd be interested to understand a bit more about the anxiety, when it started, how it affects you. You've described the kind of experiences of feeling overstimulated by the noise or snapping. What are some of the ideas or thoughts in your mind that are associated with the anxiety, or that you notice in the times when you're feeling anxious?
I think it's just a feeling of, this is too much and it's never stopping. So my days start from like 6 when I'm at home with them. It starts at 6. This morning it was actually 5 o'clock. And then I don't get to rest until 9 p.m.
Till they're in bed.
Yes.
Which is
they're
15 hours. Is that my maths? That's
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it? 15 hours on the go.
Yeah. And at some point I'm at work doing my own thing at work, and then I come home and I'm already like up to here with stress.
Yeah.
And then I come home and I'm a mum to 2, and then I'm thinking about dinner. What am I going to feed them? And then I'm worried about, my husband's going to come home, so I have to be a good wife and make sure there's
be ready
food
to greet
for him.
And,
and there's also this anxiety of, I wouldn't say I mask a lot, but there's this thing of, okay, once the kids go to bed, now I have to talk to my husband and give him energy, even though all I want to do is just go to bed.
So it becomes, what I think when I'm hearing that is this set of endless demands, right? All of these demands that you've got to satisfy, and it's all on you.
And I sometimes I just want to kind of just unwind and sit where no one demands anything from me. Like, do you know what I mean? Sometimes I just want to sit on my own, in my own thoughts, and just relax. But it always feels like something is tugging at me and I'm being pulled in different directions.
And let's just also check, this is kind of 7 days a week. So if someone came to you and they said 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, I'm satisfying everyone else's demands, and at the end of that day I feel a bit worn out and resentful that I haven't had any time for me, and I end up feeling I don't know if I can satisfy everything, what would you say to them?
Oh, damn, you're doing a lot.
What do you say to yourself in these situations?
Uh,
I'm not doing well enough. I should do better. I shouldn't feel that way.
A part of me feels, well, you've got 2 kids and you're married.
Yeah.
Part of me feels like,
which is what? That I signed up for this, therefore I should deliver on it.
Technically, even though I didn't even plan these 2 kids. It just happened. Blessing. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
But it's also one of those things where it's like, now they're here. Just do it. Like, you just have to roll with it.
And if you don't do it, no one else will.
Literally, who's going to raise these kids if I decide to run away and never come back?
Exactly. So when you think about that, Svea, and you think everything you're managing, how could you feel any other way, right? And I think that's everything we've talked about today. All the demands on a mum, all the expectations that a mum should just do all of these things naturally, perfectly, and deliver it and be happy with that. Actually, you're a human being like everybody else, satisfying other people's demands 15 hours a day, 7 days a week is not easy. And if you're able to say to yourself, well done, like, this is a lot, like, no wonder you're feeling this way, compared to you shouldn't feel like this, what's wrong with you, you're failing, something in there could be very different, right? That would give you a very different experience. So for me, it would be this combination of trying to create these moments in your day where you can enjoy your children, your time, yourself. 5 minutes, like, I'll just give myself that. I think everyone remembers in lockdown, I'm on the toilet. I just remember hearing my daughters like pitter patter and like mummy and be like, oh, leave me alone. So when you're constantly having demands upon you, it's exhausting, and there's no, like, we all know, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, there's no time off. You don't get that time to just have a day. Do you ever give yourself a day in bed? Do you ever say to your mum, can you have the kids so that I can just sit at home and do nothing? Probably not, because we don't feel it's okay to do that for ourselves. Like Attey saying, if you had a broken leg, you'd feel all right sitting at home with your foot up for however long it takes for the leg to heal. When you're feeling depressed, it's not okay. It doesn't feel okay to say, I need help, I can't do this, can I have some time off? So for me, it's about beginning to shift that relationship with ourselves, to appreciate what we're doing more, to take better care of ourselves, to give ourselves that permission to mess it up sometimes, to get it wrong sometimes, to appreciate that I'm doing my best, I'm doing as well as I can, and to take those steps to give yourself permission to get some help. Ask your husband, right, can you take them on a Sunday afternoon? I need a few hours to myself. Or I don't have to feel guilty about not having that family time. Actually, time for me is more important. Sometimes we need to do these things.
And I feel guilty because my husband does take them out on the weekends, but he wants me to come because he wants it to be a family thing. And I feel so bad when I say, I don't want to go out with you guys. Like,
I want to be on my own.
I just want a nap. Like,
exactly.
But it just makes me feel like, it makes me feel guilty. Because my husband, he works long hours, so he's out of the house Monday to Friday. When he comes back, the kids are already in bed, right?
So it's his time to see you all.
So he misses them, and he has the energy to take them out and be the fun dad. And
but if you can create a bit of time for yourself in that, then also you can think, well, then the time I come and join them, then I'm like the best version of myself because I've had a rest and I can give a lot more. So if we can give ourselves a bit, we can give back a bit more. And we're giving out all the time. That's what mothers are doing. So I think it's more than okay to take something for yourself in that. We have to do it, otherwise you run out, you run empty.
Also, so we are sometimes we have like an expectation in our brain of where we should be, and that can mess with you as well, feeling like you're not where you should be. If you have those kind of like expectations that you've created in your own brain, it will ruin the present, and you won't be able to enjoy now. So I had that as well, like where am I going to be when my kid is 5? Now my kid is 5. I didn't think I've actually exceeded my expectation, so I'm quite happy right now. But I didn't think that I could exceed it or even reach the expectation. And that made me have like the first 2 years of her life or 3 years of her life in a really miserable way. Like I wasn't able to enjoy that present. In the same way me and you can both look back and see that we've trauma deleted things, see that we've trauma deleted like the beginning part of our children's lives. It's because you feel like maybe you should be feeling in a different way, like you have a different expectation. That sometimes it's because of society, sometimes it's because of social media, but sometimes you just made it up in your own head, right? And I just made it up in my own head.
Which makes me think of that comment you made of life humbles you. And I was thinking, my pregnancy, all sorts of ideas, Nobel Prizes, and now I'm like, they're alive. That's it. That's enough.
Literally.
Like, that's all I can deliver. Like, it's a lot.
Like the anxiety, guys, it's something, my anxiety can stem from something as simple as just the thought of thinking about what to feed them every day. that stresses me out.
Yeah.
That really stresses me out.
But I can
Because
relate to that, and
before
I
these
bet
kids,
every mother could actually.
Yeah.
It's like, but also if
it's
you
a thing
think
you have
of
to
it
think about every day.
every day, and on a deeper level, it's like I've got to feed them and keep them alive and keep them like healthy and happy and safe. It's a lot.
And now
we
I'm
don't-
thinking about vegetables. How many vegetables should they be
5 a
eating?
day.
And my daughter, as soon as she sees anything green, she's not eating it. So like now I'm like, how much vegetables is she eating? You know.
Yeah.
And before these kids came along, I was eating whatever I wanted. If I
Yeah.
wanted to have, you know, when they say girl dinner,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a little, you can have a little bit of
Snack tray.
toast and like maybe like a Twix and
Oh my
a
god.
cup of tea or whatever, something random.
Yeah,
You don't feel
yeah.
guilty because you're just
Yeah.
feeding yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like actual meals.
Yeah.
You know, you're a wife,
Yeah.
you're a mum. You can't just make toast and call it dinner.
No, but
It
how
has to
often
be-
do you stop and give yourself credit for all the meals you've made?
That's a very good question.
I don't.
You don't?
Listen, Stella. If you want to really get into it, guys, I do not give myself
Yeah.
any
Credit.
love or credit.
Yeah.
I am very self-critical of myself
And you can hear that.
to the point where when people compliment me, I'm like, I don't believe it. When you tell me I'm funny, I'm like, get out of here.
She's
Do
hilarious.
you know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
When I say I have zero confidence, like, I don't know if people have noticed, but I don't really have confidence in myself, and that manifests in me as a mum as well.
Well,
I
I
feel like
think-
I'm just
And I think our children come along to test us, right? Somehow they're lined up with our weaknesses, and it's a process of growth for us as well.
Yeah.
But you know what you're describing, how you relate to yourself. How would that be if you related to your children that way? Why is it okay to treat yourself like that? Why is it okay to relate to yourself that way, to not take care of yourself, not give yourself credit, to criticize yourself all the time? These are things we all do without knowing. And it's when you stop and you take that moment to listen, what am I telling myself? How am I talking to myself? What am I giving myself? We realize these things.
I think you need to give yourself a whole lot more credit, because the amount of stuff Suia's juggling, I would have folded like a pancake
Just the fact you're doing this
years
is
ago.
amazing.
I would have folded a year ago
Yeah.
like a pancake.
And to come on air and talk so openly and
Yeah.
honestly about your experiences.
I feel like it's helping me, but it could also help someone else.
Yeah.
And we
does,
always
I'm
come in
sure.
here talking about being vulnerable about your mental health and talking to people. So I feel like I have to obviously
And creating that safe
I
space
have
as
to
well.
also do
Yeah.
the same as well. And I don't want people to ever think that I'm not struggling. Like
Yeah.
I am.
We all are, right?
We all
That's
do.
what, how
You know what I
Attey and I
mean?
started the workshop. We are struggling. Like
Yeah.
when I have to tell everyone my job, and then I think they're all judging my parenting. I'm like, oh, I don't. But like, I don't get it right every time. I mess up. I don't do it perfectly because I'm a parent and a human being like everybody else. You've got to give yourself some credit and kind of leeway. We can't be perfect. It's just not possible.
I think also when we look at mental health issues from a completely different lens and a completely different frame. Now, I'll go as far as saying, you know, we are a dual entity, right? We are a physical body and a spiritual soul. And just as our physical body gets sick and needs healing and needs attention, our spiritual soul is exactly the same, right? So if you were to carry weights on your arm every day, all day, what was it, 15 hours a day you said? 7 days a week, and you was expected to keep carrying those weights, and you wasn't expected to complain or say it hurt or didn't even look at the bruises you had. You just neglected it. I mean, I'm sure eventually your arm would probably go gangrene and fall off or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But yet when it comes to our internal world and our spiritual self, we've completely neglected it, and we are just expected to just push it down, forget about it and move on. And something like you said, you know, just about those 5 a day, like there's so much push for a child's external, you know, Are they eating their 5 a day? Are they having their 2 weeks PE lessons? Are they going to the park after school and having their exercise?
Are you reading with them every night?
Are you doing this?
Doing
It's
that?
all external, right? Never once have we ever asked, are you okay with your emotions? How are you managing your emotions? Like, it's always external and never internal. And this is why I was like, we are a jewel, right? There's two sides to us. And every spiritual and religious teachings will tell you that the soul goes on. We're not, it's not like the body dies and that's it, the soul dies. No, every religion and every spiritual teaching will tell you the soul lives on. So why are we neglecting that half of us? And we are just focusing so much on our 5 a days and our, like, come on, we need to really focus on our internal world as well. And I think just from some of the things that you said, like noise was kind of overwhelming you and you had to turn the TV off. That's an indication that you need, it's not a want, it's a need. You need to sit in silence. You need to see what comes up. Because things will come up, but you have to allow yourself that time. And I think one of the most important things is giving yourself permission to allow yourself to have that time to heal. Because there's obviously wounds there, having low self-worth and not being able to take a compliment and not being able to say something nice to yourself. There's an internal wound there, right? So you have to have permission. Give yourself
How do I do it,
permission.
Though? How do I go about kind of going on that journey of really digging deep and healing those inner wounds? And
I mean,
I can schedule an appointment with you. Are you free next week?
I mean, this comes down to understanding, right, that we're human.
Yeah.
And that's our design. We never chose our design. We were given this body, this soul, and we didn't choose it, right? So we're all human. We're all making mistakes. But the most important words you will ever hear are the words you tell yourself. So if you really get to that point where you say, I can't take this anymore, usually it takes a rock bottom moment for somebody to say, I can't do this anymore. But what we're trying to kind of fight for is that we don't want mums to get to that rock bottom moment. We want to come in early and give you these skills and say, notice when you're getting really overwhelmed by somebody dropping something on the floor and you're getting agitated and you don't know how to navigate that emotion that's coming up for you. So we're trying to get in there before mums, women, hit that rock bottom where they say, I can't take it anymore. But usually people only seek help when they've hit that midlife crisis or rock bottom moment or extreme trauma when they can't navigate their emotions. So first and foremost for you, you have to come to the awareness of you don't want to live like this anymore. You don't want to be that version of yourself. You want to be something better. You want to pass on confidence to your child. You want to pass on self-love, self-worth, giving your child the skills to not get angry or freaked out when something drops on the floor, or because that's what mum used to do, So it's having that moment of, this is enough now. I'm going to take this journey to heal. I'm going to bring up this pain and these wounds that I've pushed down for years, and I'm going to address them, and I'm going to look them in the eye, and I'm going to tell them, what are you here to teach me? And you learn from it, and then you take those skills, and it becomes such a beautiful journey to go on. But it's having that courage to do it is the first step.
And making that commitment to yourself, isn't
Absolutely,
it? That you're going to do this for yourself.
Thank you, guys.
It's okay.
We can move on from me now.
How do you differentiate between normal stress and when a mum needs professional support?
So you want me to go?
It's up to you.
I'll start and you can
go for
do
it.
yours after. I would say all emotions are part of the normal human experience, and words like depression and anxiety are very commonly used these days. If you really think about what they're describing, it's a normal emotion. Sadness, anxiety, nervousness, this is part of the human condition. So for me, and often how we measure it in mental health services, is in terms of interference with functioning. So when you said earlier, Sophia, that you were depressed for a week and you couldn't get out of bed and you couldn't talk, you were still feeding and changing your baby, but you weren't caring for yourself. There's an impairment in functioning there. Yeah. So for me, it would be about how severe the emotion is and how long it lasts for and how much it interferes with your functioning. Everyone has felt 10 out of 10 sad sometimes. Most people don't feel 10 out of 10 sad for a week and end up not being able to get out of bed. That's when it would be. So it's difficult to give you a kind of definitive answer. There are criteria for diagnosing depression or anxiety, so certain symptoms that you would report, but I think it's more also about your individual experience. What was it like? Is it too much? Is it something beyond my normal range? And then then I need to do something about it. Then I need to get some help for myself because this is too much. It's interfering too much with my life. Does that answer it? Yeah. Attey?
I mean, I would say, very similar to Stella, but I would say every mother's journey is going to come with stress. I mean, to go into this thinking that you're not going to get triggered or you're not going to be stressed is, again, an unrealistic expectation, right? And it's probably from somewhere in society that we've been told it's a perfect journey. So to understand, first and foremost, that yes, there's going to be stress that comes up. And that's okay, because I've got the skills to navigate that stress and I know how to handle that stress. But if it gets to a point where it's taken over your day-to-day life, where you've thought of ways to take it into your own hands of trying to numb that pain. And there's many ways, I'm not just talking self-harming. Many addictions that we overlook, right, can be a form of trying to numb your pain of avoidance, right? Something as Netflix. People will binge watch Netflix because, again, they don't want to face what's going on inwardly. So they'll just block it out and they'll fixate on this series of Netflix and watch it all day, every day, and justify it by saying, oh my gosh, I watched this amazing Netflix series and you've got to watch it. And you're justifying avoidance in such a unhealthy way. So I would kind of look at patterns in your day-to-day and say, what is it that you're doing on a regular basis? And is there ways that you're numbing when you should be really healing?
Listen,
This is hitting home because you know how many Netflix shows I've watched?
for me, it's the phone.
That was an example.
Doom scrolling, innit?
Yeah.
I'll go to bed and I'm like this in the dark, just on TikTok.
Talking of Netflix, have any of you watched Social Dilemma on Netflix?
No.
But that is really interesting because it talks about that whole thing. And the thing about all this technology is it's been developed to get you to stare at it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're selling advertising space. They need you looking. So it's designed to take up our attention, to keep us plugged into it. And then everything else suffers because of that, because you're just drawn in. So
not only that, from a deep level, they're taking your power back away from yourself, because they know if they've got you glued to something 24/7, you're powerless. Like, you will fall to whatever they tell you to do, because internally you're scared of who you are. You don't even know who you are anymore. You've completely disconnected yourself. You have no idea who you are. But all you know that Netflix series was amazing and everyone else should watch it, right?
And then a week later, you don't remember anything that happened in it.
No.
But yet you're still living with that pain
That's so mad.
that you've numbed from whatever substance you've used. And that was an example, right?
Yeah.
Social media is another example. I mean, alcohol, drug abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, many, we even seeking validation. Even getting people to compliment you all the time is like, I just need that boost. I just need somebody to tell me something really nice, so I will go out in whatever and I will do whatever just to get validated by someone.
You know,
and I'll do anything it takes, right? There's levels.
That is a big thing, especially when you're a content creator, because the amount of people that compliment you and that wish you well and that say really good things about you, if you start to base your value off of that, then when there's bad comments, it really messes you up. Like, it can confuse your brain.
But it's almost impossible not to do it as well, isn't it? You get so drawn in. And again, for me, it goes back to that idea of we're a social species. They've done research into primates, and primates who have quite complicated hierarchies, and they found the position in the hierarchy is related to life expectancy and physical health of the individuals in the group. So if you think about that, if we translate that into our lives, where we feel we are in our social hierarchies, if I feel liked, if I feel that is going to affect my physical health and my life expectancy. These are really powerful things that are like, you know, this is how we've developed. These are deeply set inside us. So social media, that's all the reasons I think now why social media is so powerful and has such a kind of complicated impact on people, because it is so important what others think of me, where I feel I am in my social group.
That's so mad.
And again, you're placing your self-worth or you're on something external where you will chase that all day, every day, and you will never get to the finishing line, right? You will constantly chase that validation, that self-worth. But the minute you take your power back and you give yourself your self-worth, then you no longer chase anyone, because you know you're worthy of it yourself, regardless of what people say, right?
Yeah.
So it's giving yourself the skills that you need, not asking or trying to get them from everybody else or anything, so any substance or anything, right? It's giving it to yourself.
Which is so hard to do, especially if you're very tired.
It's hard to do, but again, it comes back down to reconnecting to truth, right?
Yeah.
I'm worthy because I'm here. I was created, I'm here. Like, I didn't choose to be here. Somebody brought me here. I'm here for a reason. So I'm worthy of that.
Facts. Affirmations.
100%. Like, don't be looking at Tom, Dick and Harry for your self-worth, because they're never going to give it to you, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's also, you know, you get one comment, there's always going to be another, isn't there?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it just becomes this, like...
I'll stop caring.
It's an impossible, you can't, there's endless, isn't it? There's no limit to
Because
it.
with me and Sawia, 1 minute, like, everybody is laughing at something that we've said, and then the next minute we're being dragged, or I'm being dragged.
For wearing your pajamas to go
Yeah,
to school.
I mean, also, I've been dragged by a whole nation, but we're not going to get into that one. A whole country has dragged me. I made a I wouldn't even call it a joke. I would
She
just
shared
say,
a story about something that happened in Kenya.
yeah,
Right.
all the Kenyans are angry.
And then now the Kenyans are like, that's a lie. That doesn't happen in our country. Or,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just...
But I think also we live in a
outraged.
time where that the whole cancel culture, isn't it? You feel
Yeah.
afraid of saying the wrong thing. And I think I was thinking also that idea of the social group of social media is not your social group.
It's
They're not
not.
people you're ever going
Yeah.
to see, but somehow in our minds they become this kind of powerful...
Really and truly. This is people that are hours and hours away in
On
a
the other side of the
different
world or
country.
something.
Literally.
East
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah.
And they feel close because
Yeah.
the comment is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The
they don't even-
proximity is this far, to be honest.
That's how they see it.
Yeah.
and they
And
don't
you-
even follow us. They just kind of, like, if you actually think about it, most of these negative comments are from people who they were scrolling.
Yeah.
They come across your video for like a second or whatever.
second, yeah.
They leave a comment and then they continue
Yeah.
scrolling. They've already
They
forgot
don't
about
even
you.
think about it.
Yeah.
But that's
Exactly.
okay. These are not your people.
No, of
right?
course.
So that's what you've
I
got
know,
to remember.
disconnect yourself from
But I
that,
keep
right?
forgetting that. Sometimes I'm like,
These are not your people.
Yeah.
right,
What have we done?
sometimes it does affect me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What,
I'm sure.
what have I done?
Why are
to
you attacking me?
Why are you
You know?
attacking us?
Yeah,
But then I have to keep reminding myself that, like, they just...
Disconnect. Yeah.
But you think
They've already
also
gone.
communication, right? They say, don't they, usually something like 80% of communication is non-verbal. But you're not having any kind of sophisticated communication with this person. They're just watching you say something and reacting to it instantly. So where's that other 80% of the meaning and the kind of communication that we would have in our normal experience? Like it really becomes distorted and it moves it into another level.
Yeah.
Yeah, social media is scary, isn't it? It's actually so scary. And then
See,
imagine
that's
children.
why I don't do Instagram.
No, I keep telling her like she needs to jump on it because
Imagine children
so
go
many
on
reasons.
social media,
But
how
yeah,
it would distort their view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to. I mean, look, there's good and bad in everything, right?
Of course.
Everything is there's light and
Yeah.
and dark. There's yes and no. There's two sides to everything in life. So if we can use it in a way where we are helping, supporting,
Yeah.
providing a service where women, mothers are saying, do you know what? That really helped me. All I did was I listened to that and I've realised that I no longer have to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just giving
Or
that...
I'm not alone.
I'm not
Someone else
alone,
is going
or
through it.
whatever you take from it, it's like, you know, you're using social media or whatever in a good way.
Yeah.
You're not contributing to any negative side of it. And I think it's, again, bringing that back down to our children, showing our children that there's good and bad in everything. If you get sucked into this, there's good and bad in it. Be careful, warn them, you know. And unfortunately, there's so many horrible stories that we see in terms of teenagers
Roblox.
and but even managing emotions, like that was huge on TikTok. Teenage girls self-harming because they had no other way of knowing how to handle these emotions, right? So TikTok went viral. It went viral on cutting. And you know, it was like, it was really, really upsetting to see how many teenage girls felt no other way or no other support than to lean on getting a razor and cutting because they don't know how to handle this anger or shame or disappointment. It's an emotion, right? But they haven't been taught how to handle it.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
And
So
to
they'll
make
lean
things-
on social media.
Yeah, and to make things worse, are you hearing the lyrics of the artists that they listen to these days? Like, there was an artist, I think he passed away from a drug overdose. Lil
Which one?
Peep. Lil Peep?
Oh my goodness. Is okay, for context. I had no idea he was famous, first of all.
Okay.
Outside my mum's house, there's a park, and once a month, I think minimum,
Yeah.
a lot of
Young people.
alternative group, I would call them,
Right.
Yeah.
with the spikies and
Right.
the
yeah.
shoes this big,
Right.
them. Sit outside there and write R.I.P. Lil Peep, we love you, lots of hearts, we love
So
Lil
that's
Peep,
what
Lil
that's
Peep, Lil
about.
Peep. I had no idea who that was.
Have you listened to his lyrics?
I haven't listened to. I didn't even know he was famous. I thought they were crazy.
Like,
I can't lie to you.
He's literally glorifying suicide,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
self-harm.
Yeah.
You're
The
joking.
lyrics are crazy. He's talking about drug abuse.
No, they do.
Teenagers, like he
And
became
young
even more
people these
popular
days
after he
can
died.
access
You're
anything,
joking.
can't they? Young people these days can access anything
Yeah,
on the internet. Everything is, they can see it all.
they have
There's
candles.
Yeah, there's levels to it as well because a whole movement that we've seen now is kind of like a satanic movement of glorifying, you know, really deep,
Yeah, the
horrible
lyrics.
things,
and
and
then,
they glorify it through lyrics. And then you get these children or teenagers that come on and they listen. Oh, sacrifice that, and I can get that, and da, da, da,
Oh my
da. And
god!
it's like,
Ritual this, ritual
exactly.
that. Yeah.
And again, abuse, drug abuse, or
Famous. That's so
Lil
much.
Peep was
suicidal has
he was
been
a rapper.
so. Yeah, it's a whole nother level, but it's, you have to make your children aware, right? We're not saying don't show them, don't avoid, because then they will see it. You know, they will be
Exactly.
exposed to it.
Yeah.
There's no hiding
This
it
is
from
what
them.
is
When
out
is an
in the
appropriate age?
I would be led
For-
by the child. I probably wouldn't introduce it to them. I would keep talking with them about what are they coming across, and then they're gonna tell you when they come into contact with that stuff, right? Because you can't even control it in terms of limiting their access. They go to school and their friend talks about it in the playground.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's you can't, like Attey's saying, you can't prevent them having access to that. What you can offer is a kind of a way of navigating it and making sense of it and understanding it and thinking, well, what am I going to do with this? And that can only come through talking about that with you and sharing with you as a parent. So one of the things we've talked about in conscious parenting is in that older age, in the adolescent years, is that you're not taking this judgmental kind of authoritative position. You're more giving the child, you know, the opportunity to go out into the world and learn and experience things, but a safe place where they can come back and share that with you, and you can talk about that with them and help them make sense of it and understand it and teach them the things you think you need to for them to manage it safely.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is also one of the things that causes a lot of
Absolutely,
anxiety in
yeah.
parents, isn't it? You want to protect your child from that, but you can't in a
Because
way.
it's getting younger and younger
Yeah.
now as well.
But not only that, you know, we're parents that live in the real world. We're not going to come here and tell you, don't give your child a phone, and don't do this, and don't allow them to have no screen time. And no, we live in reality, right?
Yeah.
They are going to sit and watch TV. They
Yeah.
are going to get to an age where they're going to want a phone, and they're going to be exposed to social media. So what we're doing is we're not saying avoid, neglect. We're saying give them the skills to navigate what they're being exposed to. And that falls exactly under the 777 approach for our conscious parent method, is that from 0 to 7, it is all love and connection, right? It is that foundation of your child and parent relationship should be all about love and play and love and connection and building that connection with your child.
But that does include firm love,
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
sense of boundaries,
Setting.
and
Exactly.
saying no, that is not,
We're not
loving your
spoiling
child
rotten.
if you
Yeah.
do that.
Good
Again,
disclaimer.
understand
Just
what
make
love
that
is.
clear.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
is not spoiling your child and giving them
Yes.
everything that they want. Love is giving them the skills,
What they
right?
need.
That's real love.
Okay.
And that's what we are, from 0 to 7, it's building that strong connection through love and play and love and connection. For 7 to 14 is where we become the role model for them to see, to navigate. Oh, how did mum handle that emotion? How did mum handle that when that man, pushed her in the line in the supermarket? How did mum react? Oh, okay. So we are the role models from 7 to 14 because they watch everything we do and they are learning every single thing from us, right? And yeah, it is pressure, but I'm going to give it to you real. They are watching every single thing we do and everything we say. So we have to be really mindful of that.
Scary.
But also, where you said earlier, Sue, that you'll go and say sorry after.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
amazing, by the way.
But this speaks to what I was saying earlier about
Yeah.
being good enough. Like, they are watching,
Yeah.
but we're going to get it wrong,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Because I know that it's me.
Yeah.
It's got nothing
And
to
if
do
we
with
can
her.
go back
Yeah.
and say to them, I'm sorry, I
Absolutely.
lost my temper
Yeah.
because I was at the end of it, I've had a really long day,
Yeah.
something my kids hear all the time, then,
Mine
it gives them a different sense. And children will go through this phase of development, that kind of primary school years, we call it egocentric development, when the world revolves around them, which means everything that happens they feel responsible for, good and bad. So if mummy tells them off, they think it's because I've done something that's made mummy tell me off. So if my mum can come back and say to me, actually the reason I told you off was because I was in a bad mood and I was having a bad day and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, suddenly I have a different understanding of these things.
So that is the role model, right? That's who we should be from 7 to 4. It's not, we should be that throughout the whole child relationship, but we focus on the 7 to 14 because this is where they're really learning. Like Stella said, the brain's kind of developing in a slightly different way. They're picking everything up. So by the time you get to 14 to 21, they've seen you as that strong, love and connection. They have that love and connection with you. They've built that bond. They've now seen you as a really positive role model. Now they can come to you for advice, right? Now they're not going to their friends who are going to give them, they're not best advice. But they can come to you because they've got that connection with you. They see you as a positive person, a role model in life. And that's what it is, right? It's having the foundation. It's being a witness to, my mum gets it. She handled that really well. She apologised when she messed up. What was the big deal? I'm going to do the same.
Yeah.
And then from 14 to 21, I'm not going to go on social media and learn how to handle emotions and self-harm. I'm going to go to my mum and be like, Mum, something happened at school today and I need help. Like, what do I do? And that's the foundation that we want. And I say this because it works. I know it works. My oldest son is my best friend, like, honestly. And that is the kind of parenting style that I followed all the way through. It's that 777 method where he's watched me mess up and apologise. He's watched me struggle and say, man, I messed that up big time. But he's also known that he can come to me at any time and we can sit and we can talk, and I'm cool with that, right? So it does work. We're not here reading from a book saying, we're examples that...
Yeah, we had another parenting coach, shout out to Mariam, and she said the same thing. She
Right.
mentioned the 777 as
Yeah.
well. So definitely.
Yeah. But we're trying to push it out as a universal kind of, open it up for every mum, because although we say, that, when you give birth, you're never given a book, or you don't know how to navigate parenting. That's right. We're not given a manual. We're not given anything. But if we have a little a couple of gold nuggets at the back of our head that, okay, 0 to 7, love and
to
connection.
guide us through it.
Let me just focus on that.
Yeah.
7 to 14.
it is a good guide, actually.
It is.
And
But
it's
it's,
so
it's
simple,
also
right?
so simple, right? So I think the power is in its simplicity.
simple,
that it's just
right.
like, these are the core things that I need to focus on. And of course, you don't manage to do that all the time. But
Yeah.
if you can keep coming back to it and be like, this is the important thing, I've got to connect back to that. That's what makes a difference.
I have a question. If if, let's say, obviously not, but if this was the last thing that you ever said on the internet to tell mums, what would it be? Or like, what advice would you give? Like, what do you think is a piece of information or something that is so valuable that, like, if this was the last thing you ever said on the internet, you'd be happy with it?
Shall I go first?
You go first. Time to think.
I would say trust your motherly instinct. Trust your true intuition, because parenting advice is going to change. And I see this, like, I've seen it. Obviously, I've got 6, and every single time I've been advised to do something completely different, right? But I've always been true to that true intuition, because when they tell you don't pick up your baby when they cry, they need to learn to self-soothe, and now research has come out that is the worst advice you can ever give a mum, because the trauma it creates to the child. And thank God I never listened to that advice, and every time my baby cried, I picked my baby up, right? You know your child better than anybody else in the world, so follow that true intuition, follow that true motherly instinct that you have. Turn down that external noise and go back in.
I love that.
That was good.
I did the same as well.
Good.
Every time somebody told me you're spoiling her,
Yeah.
in my head I was like, she was inside me for 9 months, very warm and very content and being hugged the whole time. And now that she's outside in this world that she doesn't understand or know, and she's cold and she's, craving a touch, why would I deprive her of that? How can you spoil a baby? Doesn't make sense.
And you always say that, right? You always say you can never
Spoil
give
with love.
a child enough love.
Literally.
It doesn't do any harm.
Literally. Stella?
Don't know if I can top that. I would say I'd echo Attey's words of trust yourself. I'd probably add in love yourself and appreciate everything you're doing for yourself and your family. And maybe, although that could have other meanings, it's never too late. If you feel you've made a mistake or you've done something wrong, it's never too late to put it right.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that would be my...
That's a powerful one, right? Because so many mums think that they've messed up and that's it. They've messed their child up now forever. No, it's never too late to repair. You can always repair a relationship.
I think that goes all the way into like even marriage.
Absolutely.
Because people
Every
are always
relationship.
afraid that, was it one argument too many? Like, is this the end? Like, people always forget that you can repair.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's always, unless it's like real bad.
Yeah.
But that's with a partner. With your kid, it's forever, Like, there's not
And
much,
they need us forever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's always a time to repair. It's never too late. I love that. I love that.
That really hit. That really hit home. No, both of you. Both of you were amazing today. Just want to say thank you for coming.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Oh, thank you.
Real honour.
Thank you so much for coming. Honestly, this has been such a beautiful episode.
Yeah.
So your vulnerability has made me feel very proud of you. Whoopsie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Honestly, it takes a lot to do that. So well
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
And you're not the only person that feels like that.
No.
Definitely.
Of course
I know.
Like for a long time, obviously I'm raising my daughter on my own.
Right.
Obviously me and her dad co-parent really well,
Yeah.
but I'm the primary, I'm the default parent,
And he's in a different city.
He
as
lives
well.
in
He doesn't
Birmingham,
even
so
live close.
it's he doesn't even live nearby to like help with school runs and stuff. So I'm doing the bulk of the work on my own, and there's been so many moments where I've sat down and thought, am I a shit parent? Am I doing this correctly? Like people will be like, oh my gosh, your daughter's so great, and then I'll go home and be like, is she great because she's great, or is she great because I've created her and helped to shape her and I've contributed to her greatness? And you doubt yourself.
Because sometimes I'm like, is that just who she is? Is it really me as a parent doing this?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people are
Which
like,
is you not giving yourselves credit.
exactly.
Right?
I'm just
But
like,
also,
was she
can
just
I-
born this way?
Yeah, so maybe literally.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe she's born with it.
But can I say also, as a professional, as a child psychologist, I know all the theory. I feel like that a lot of the time. Like it's a really hard job, and I actually also think if you don't feel like that, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Wow.
Don't you think, to have a little bit of humility and capacity to think about it rather than just feeling I get it right all the time?
Because that's rooted in something completely different.
Yeah. Which kind of
Arrogance,
mother would you
narcissistic,
prefer to
right?
have? Yeah. So
any extreme is unhealthy.
See, when you put it like that, I feel like that's a perspective change, isn't it, Suya?
Yeah.
Because
It's
wow.
yeah.
If you, as like both of you, as like people who are knowledgeable in this field,
Yeah.
feel like that.
that's why, to be really honest, when Attey came to me and said to do this,
Yeah.
for me, I've always had quite a boundary in terms of professional and personal.
Yeah.
So Attey knows, I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know about
Yeah.
standing up there and telling them, oh, I'm this child psychology expert. They see me running in late, shouting at my kids. I'm human like everybody else. So, yeah, I think there's something powerful in just owning that and being honest about that and not trying to perpetuate this false sense of perfection. I don't get it right. I mess it up, for
We're
sure.
human.
For sure.
Standard,
Exactly.
right? I think
Yeah.
that is the bottom line of it all.
Yeah.
We're not created to be this perfect robot. No, we're human. We make mistakes, but again, it's that repair.
And
How we
it's
handle
also
it.
not, it's about the process and the kind of effort, which makes me think of what the other thing we were talking about, as opposed to the outcome, right? Like, who knows if my child's going to be perfect? At which point are you going to stop and measure my child's perfection?
Okay.
They could always mess up the next year, right? How do you know when I'm a perfect parent? That's not. But actually, if I'm going through this process of trying, of doing my best, of trying to reflect, of trying all the things we've talked about today, that for me, that's what makes the difference.
You know, there are some moments where I'm like, okay, I think I'm a good mum. And those moments are like when I'm losing it and she's like, let's breathe. Let's take a deep breath. Mummy, you need to take 5 deep breaths. Let's blow these candles. In those moments, I'm like, okay, let's breathe. Yeah. Because I'm in my head, I'm laughing, but at the same time, it's like,
She's right.
You taught her that.
I do this with you when you're having a meltdown, and now you can clearly see
She's
that I'm
doing it with you.
frustrated.
Yeah.
You've like understood this is frustration.
Yeah.
Mummy's stressed,
Yeah.
and she
And
needs
had
to
a healthy
breathe.
way of dealing
Right?
with it.
Those are like small moments where I'm like,
But those are
That's
also
a
the
win, girl.
moment, a win, and those are the moments you've got to bank, right? There are these kind of golden nuggets. I
Yeah.
remember this feeling of like, there's these moments, and they can kind of come out of nowhere
Yeah.
sometimes, where you just feel like, everything's all right. Like,
Yeah.
my kids are okay.
They're alive.
They're alive. They're smiling. This is good. I'm happy. And it's like, it's gone again in 30 seconds,
Oh
but
my
you've
God.
just got to
Yeah.
like hold on to
Hold on
that.
to that.
Those are the
Yeah.
things that give
Yeah.
us the strength to carry on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
oh, I don't even want this episode to end.
And it feels like
I don't
a
even
therapy
want to
session.
go. I feel so happy here right now.
Do you guys have any ways to plug yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I know, Stella, you're not really on social media.
I'm
Yeah.
not really Attey,
So I'm not going to tell you to plug yourself.
Well, we've got many things we want to kind of push forward in the future. I mean,
Okay.
we want to work on so many different. We've got a lot of fight in us for mothers, and we feel that it's, every mother should be supported regardless, right? And we feel that is a must. It shouldn't be, a financial reason where a mother doesn't get support, or it shouldn't be a cultural reason where a mother doesn't get support. There should be no reason where a mother doesn't ever get support. There should
Yeah.
always be support available. So I think that's something that we're both really passionate about. At the moment, I am doing kind of as much work as I can in terms of taking on new mums and working with them from therapy session, but also conscious parenting kind of avenue. It's a mentorship program that I'm doing. I'm working with a mum for a year straight. So they work with me for a year, and at the end of that year, and through that, we do meditations, we do therapy sessions, there's a private platform for her to go through modules and things like that. But obviously, eventually, we want to push something big out to mums that where nothing stops them getting that support that they need. But yeah, just Instagram page. I mean, if you link it or something, Conscious Creeds.
It's
Yeah,
Attey's
Yes.
Instagram page.
We will
Instagram
definitely
page.
link everything in the description, but also to say, like, when you're ready to like launch that and like put it out there, before you launch it, come back on here and let's talk about it.
I've done
She's
it.
launching it in a few days.
oh,
so
you
this
posted
is the
applications
show.
are open in 5 days' time.
We could just share it.
God.
We'll reshare it. Anything you guys want us to
Yes.
reshare to our platform.
Thank you. I
We'll
Send
spread
it
the
out.
word for you guys.
Honestly, because our platform is for mums,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're here. Like, I feel like me and Sawia's main aim for this whole entry level mums for our platform and our podcast is so that women don't feel like how we felt in postpartum, because we started this when we were both in postpartum and PPD, and it was hell. And if you do have a look at like our first videos, you can see the difference between like how we communicate and like just our vibe is completely different to how it is now. And if we even stop one person from feeling as bad as they would have,
You've done your
our job is done.
Yeah.
Our job is done.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's kind of our goal as well. But I think obviously with Dr. Stella's expertise and kind of the field she works in, she has a kind of deep understanding and a very raw understanding of what comes in every day and the real struggles that, you know, children are exposed to. Whereas then I've got the other side of, I've got the mums coming in every day where I'm like helping them navigate their internal worlds and their healing processes. So with the two, I feel like there's such a powerful thing that can happen right here. But we just need to, whether it's funding or whether it's exposure or whether it's whatever, it just needs to be available.
I completely agree.
100% to mums, because you were very lucky enough to go to your GP. Most mums I see won't even go near their GP. And
but you weren't lucky because you went and you didn't get the help. So
unfortunately,
but you're not alone, right? Yeah.
But at least you had the courage to pick yourself up and go.
And the craziest thing is that courage came from the doctor that was, you know, when you, when they give the immunizations.
Oh, yeah.
When she was talking to me, I mentioned that I was not doing well. And she said, make sure you come back. Like, go, before you leave, go to the reception and say, I want to see Dr. So-and-so for my mental health.
But if I can,
she's the one that gave me that push, and for them to still get it wrong.
But if I can also speak, having spent my whole career in the NHS, the NHS is on its knees. It's such an under-resourced service. So it's filled with professionals who want to do well and help, but are overworked. So if there's one other message I could give, don't take no for an answer. I know it's really difficult when you're in that time of need and you want help and you don't get it, but if you keep asking, there are the right services out there, there is the right help out there. Hopefully you'll find someone who can offer that at some point.
And not only that, if you're in a financial position to fund it, go and get a therapy, go and get a therapist. Not everyone is in that position. But if you are, don't neglect that need. That is a need, it's right? Just like you go to the shop and buy your 5-a-day food for your children. If you can financially, then that is a need that you must, right? And unfortunately, not everyone is in that position. So the ones that aren't in that position, of course, fight. Don't give up. Keep going back to your GP.
You know, fight for someone you know as well. If you see a friend is struggling and they've tried to get help and they can't, help them navigate it. Go back, advocate for them. I can do a small plug. If you can pay, I do have a private organisation of clinical psychologists and therapists, which is psychological therapy for you.
Plug yourself.
So, come on, there you go. That's my plug.
Come on, pick yourself up.
psychologicaltherapyforyou.com.
Okay.
So we've got a website and we've got a team of clinical psychologists and psychotherapists that we can send referrals to.
So there is support.
There is support available. There is,
and then that is it. Don't ever feel that you have to navigate this on your own. You're never on your own. You just have to look a little bit and find that support. Find your village, find your community, find your people.
Yes, I was going to say, if you don't have access to private therapy or private help, when you do form that village, it can feel like therapy.
Well, looking what you two did, you guys did that, right? That was really coming like together therapy. And you sounds like you helped
someone
each
needs
other
to do like an AA meeting for mums once a week, you know?
Drop in. That's what we're envisaging.
And we would also love to collaborate with you. If you guys ever want to do an event with us,
we would love that.
For sure, absolutely.
Please.
Honestly,
Please.
We've got the mums, you guys got the
Whatever. We're always up for giving back, right? And we always say this. We're always there for, just like you, if there's one mum we can help, job done.
It's
we
worth
help
it.
right? We always, absolutely.
Also, something needs to be done, policymakers. Because even CAMS is overwhelmed.
We were just saying this.
It's so mad because I see autism diagnoses and ADHD diagnosis for children, and it's like, 2-year wait.
Waiting list for years.
And that's so sad.
So sad.
It's so sad. I've heard so many people complain about CAMS' waiting times.
And it's hard because having spent my career in CAMS, as a professional, you feel that kind of responsibility and the guilt.
Yeah.
But it's about funding. It's about politicians putting the money in where it's needed to make those investments to help people. So,
As opposed to where they want to.
Yeah.
This is why I feel like we should really fight.
Yeah.
Because if so many of us mums got together and we all stood there
Demanded
and said,
it.
we need support, right?
Yeah.
We need emotional support. We know we need to be able to give the skills to ourselves to then pass on to the next generation, because you've put so much pressure on us to raise this next generation of doctors or lawyers or whatever it is, but yet you're not giving us any support emotionally. So you know what, if a lot of mums got together in big groups and individual groups, if we all came together and we demanded that support, you never know.
And
Stranger things have happened.
Strange things. And actually it does make me think, speaking to my point earlier about what's offered through social care, I don't think many people know this at all, but every borough in England nationally offers parenting courses for free.
Oh.
So if you go onto your local...
That's amazing, because no one ever hears
No
of
one
that.
knows that. So if you go onto your local website, Hammersmith and Fulham...
I thought that was just an
Barnet.
RBKC thing.
No, RBKC do it, Westminster do it, every local authority does it.
Parenting course.
Parenting courses.
It's like 12 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's ones like
Yeah.
Triple P, Parenting for Teens, Strengthening Families, Strengthening Communities.
Strengthening
there's a range,
Families
there's a
as
whole
well,
range
so-
of different ones. So you can select the most appropriate one, and they're free. And you go along, and you're offered that. You know, we know, researchers know what works with parenting. We know what positive parenting is. It's understood. So there is help out there. Like, make that
Parenting
step.
courses.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Yeah,
I
and it's,
actually
you
did
know,
one.
like, did you?
Yeah,
How
but
was-
not one of the long ones. I
Right.
did like a really short one.
And?
It was like creativity for parents, and
Yeah.
it was in RBKC.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was
Yeah.
like, I think it was like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And like we just sat down. There was about 7 or 8 of us, and we just learnt how to. I mean, I'm already a creative person, but I
Yeah.
went anyway,
Yeah.
you know? And they teach you how to make things and like
Yeah.
things, activities you could do with children
Yeah.
That's
from
good.
0, well, from let's say 2 up until like 5 or 6.
Amazing.
And even above. And the ladies that were there were all, I would say they were searching for people who could understand them or
Yeah.
relate to them
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
just to feel part of something
Yeah.
and to
To
feel
make
seen, you know.
relationships, isn't it?
And a lot
Yeah.
of times there's a language barrier. A lot of
Yeah.
times some of them don't speak English.
Yeah.
So they go there and they find somebody who speaks Arabic, you know.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, I speak Arabic too. And then now they've made a friend,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Potentially their kids could go to the same school
Yeah.
and they've just never seen each other,
Yeah.
you know.
Could change everything for that
Literally,
family.
it could change everything for that one person. Some of the parents have been here for not that long. They're
Yeah.
refugees, you know,
Yeah.
and they're trying to learn how to be better
Yeah.
for their children
Yeah.
through these free courses,
Yeah.
and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
They're all free.
Yeah.
Even the resources like we're given,
Yeah.
and they were free as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I've often suggest that to people, and it's interesting. People are often quite resistant to
I was
it.
going to say that.
But I think that they're a real resource. Like, I'd really encourage people, if you feel that struggle, and again, it's these kind of general methods, general strategies that we know work, and that will also, if they're things that if you put them in early, it's going to prevent difficulties
Yes.
developing later on. So there's that, you know, that it's so valuable. It makes such a difference. So yeah, I would really encourage parents to go and
I
look for those.
completely agree. Go, even if you just go the first time just to scope it out and see what it's like. Sometimes just spending that time focusing on something other than your problems,
Yeah.
focusing on something other than like, what am I going to cook later, or
Yeah.
what, my house is a mess, or
Yeah.
like,
And
what
you're
ti-
not necessarily, you,
know?
don't have to go and share everything.
Of
There isn't that
course, yeah.
expectation, because I think sometimes groups can feel quite overwhelming in that way. It's not, there isn't that expectation. You just go in and it's more them providing you with information and understanding about child development and about parenting techniques. So I would really recommend parents look for those as well.
I completely agree. This is so beautiful.
That's so good.
Any other resources you want to share?
Off the top of my head, if anything, I mean, maybe we'll obviously keep in touch, and if other
course.
things come in, we'll have a look.
Of
But
course.
not
Yeah.
really.
I was just
Do
going
you?
to say, no, in terms of resources, yeah, I think it's just like you're saying, somebody just to be seen and being heard is one of the most important things. just to have a conversation with a friend can be one of the most powerful things you can do. And it's just coming to awareness of, I'm struggling. I'm not okay.
Yeah.
Like, just that line can be so powerful. And maybe you don't feel comfortable going to a group session of 10 other mums or whatever, because unfortunately we still do have this horrible stigma of asking for help, seeking help, right? There's a whole big taboo about, you know, like we've spoke about the whole session of that, this perfect image that we're supposed to have. And how dare we admit that we're struggling, or how dare we have the right? You've got everything you want right in front of you. How dare you say you're struggling, right? And it's just coming to that awareness of, it's okay. We're all struggling, regardless of your financial income, regardless of your religion, regardless of, you know, whatever background you come from. Every mother struggles, right?
Yeah.
And it's just screaming that from the rooftops and taking away that taboo of,
it's okay.
yeah.
We're gonna wrap up the episode, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
genuinely, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, thank you for coming and giving us your time out of your day, giving us giving gems, giving us your thoughts, your expertise.
Yeah.
Everything was just, it was beautiful. So, and I
Thank
really
you.
felt like I opened up a part of me that
A little bit.
that I was kind of pushing down for a bit. Slowly,
Came up a little bit.
Yes, it came up a little bit. But yeah, thank you once again.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for starting the podcast, girls.
Oh, thank you.
We're really trying.
Yeah, we went the gutter. But alhamdulillah, thank you to God.
Thank
we
God,
are.
honestly, yeah.
We're okay now, isn't it? So
We
we are.
built a nice community.
Yeah.
So we're really
Amazing.
grateful.
Amazing.
It's also helped our healing journey as
Keep
well,
going.
which is
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
guys, please comment, like, subscribe, speak to us. We hope you felt seen and heard, and
We hope this episode helped
Yeah.
you in some way. Obviously, follow their advice. You know, if you're going through something, please go and seek help. Go see your GP, or if you want to start with talking to a friend, you can start there. But talking about it helps, for sure. So we really hope this episode helped, and we'll see you in our next episode. Don't forget to subscribe, guys.
Don't
please.
forget.
Subscribe. Thank you to our guests.
Give them away, you guys.
Bye, guys.